Gary, what's with all the noise down there?
Mom, I'm podcasting the story of the Venture Brothers!
Gary, nobody cares about the Venture Brothers.
People care!
Well, just be quiet.
All right, fine!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that asks the question, what does the fox say? It doesn't matter what the fox say! I am Jeremy.
Steve. Jericho.
Remember, you can find this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes and on Stitcher. You can like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at rolling_20s. You can send me any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. For the music for the show, we are still using the music of Machinae Supremacy. You can find their work at machinaesupremacy.com, largely for free download, with the exception of the latest couple of albums. You can find those on amazon.com. At the beginning of the show, you heard a clip from YouTube, which is Adult Swim doing a short recap of Season 1 through 4 of The Venture Brothers. You can find that show probably returning, I believe, in 2015 on Adult Swim or Cartoon Network. It has been a while.
I had that nice break.
Yeah, I know. Did you guys enjoy your holiday?
I had a lot of fun. My family has hosted a number of Japanese exchange students over the years, and one in particular came over when she was 16. She's now 31 and brought her daughter over. She's been back, 10, 15 times.
Wow, I guess that's one I haven't met, if it's at that age.
Yeah, Maiko.
Oh, no, I did meet her.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
okay.
It's been a while. I mean,
yeah.
It's been over 15 years since I went to Japan. So. Yep.
What about you, Jesse?
I had nothing special to report.
Oh, okay. V, did you do anything over the holiday?
I had a Christmas holiday at work. I discovered I'm good at roulette.
Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Christmas.
Oh, wow, okay. They're as early as Macy's. Wow.
Yeah, well, we just had ours at our work yesterday.
Yeah.
I just didn't
mine was
go.
on Friday.
Yeah, my holiday party is actually this coming Friday. I actually went out on Black Friday because there was an outlet mall that was open at midnight on Thanksgiving. So we went out super early. We got to the mall by 8 simply because they would be open all day, and we got there between crowds, thankfully. So it was interesting to look around for a little while.
That's good.
And you survived it, too.
Well, it was really cool because this particular outlet mall had an entire cart dedicated to retro games. They had two glass cases of games all the way back to, I think, Genesis. They were selling $100 Retrons, right off the cart. These, handheld Super Nintendo... It's kind of... I don't remember what it's called, but it's this handheld controller that has a monitor in the middle. You can plug a Super Nintendo cartridge right into the top of it.
Huh.
So it was just really weird to stare at, especially since we were walking by and there was a kid with a controller playing Super Mario Brothers on a monitor. But the other thing about the internet during a holiday is you find the weirdest things out there. I found on dorkly.com, it was a small comic about Legend of Zelda: Hero of Time. You know how one of those Wii games starts with Link sleeping and that annoying fairy comes in and starts waking him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, while that happens, all of a sudden a time portal opens up and an adult Link that's just very scarred and messed up shows up and tells her to stop. And there's only one way to stop the cycle of pain that's going to occur.
Kill the fairy?
Yeah, he smashed the fairy into the wall, and then all he says is, I have some unfinished business. The next thing you see is a giant owl that gets a boomerang in the back of the head, and he yells from a distance, would you like me to repeat that? I'll be sure to link that. And the other thing was on crack.com. They had what they call the 45 most badass lines, I didn't make it, ever uttered in real life. Some of these are really weird. It's the first one is by a guy named Chesty Puller. After he saw a flamethrower for the first time, he says, where the hell do you put the bayonet on this thing? And Switzerland had a standing army, but it was mostly riflemen. They had a militia of about 250,000 Swiss and an army of 500,000 Germans staring them down. And their motto was that if they were ever to be invaded, was shoot twice and go home. In other words, kill two and walk. And I love some of these. It's like the battle cry of Almagraves. They're medieval mercenaries. They would charge into battle scraping weapons on stones to create those sparks you see in like movies.
Okay.
And they would come at you screaming, "Awake, iron!"
Huh.
Nice.
Hmm.
Oh, Stephen Hawking, one of his quotes, somebody asked him about his IQ, and his was, "I have no idea. People who boast about their IQs are losers."
That's so true. That's such a culturally biased test. It barely means anything.
Oh, and this is the last one. In the age of Joseph Stalin, there was a Yugoslavian communist revolutionary named Josip Broz Tito, and Stalin kept sending assassins after this guy. And he sent a personal message to Stalin that says, "Stop sending people to kill me. We've already captured 5 of them, one with a bomb and another with a rifle. If you don't stop sending killers, I'll send one to Moscow, and I won't have to send another." And as an FYI, Tito outlived Stalin by 28 years. So, that happened. That, and I read about a poison garden in London. It is a garden made up of plants that could actually kill human beings. I imagine they mean by ingestion, not like Audrey 2 or anything.
Right.
But it is kind of an interesting...
me, Seymour.
It is an interesting concept, though, that there is this garden, including one that looks like a tunnel of poison ivy you can walk straight through.
No thanks.
I didn't say touch it, just walk.
Yeah. It better be a very wide tunnel.
It looked big enough for me to get my fat ass through. But we'll go ahead and keep moving, because obviously I could talk forever. We decided to read the first 5 issues of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Before we do that, we have our usual Kickstarter corner, and several things are still going on, and a few have completed. We've been talking about the music we've borrowed from Machine Supremacy. Their World Tour fundraiser is still going. It keeps going until January 12th.
Oh, wow.
It started way back on September 22nd. It has 294 backers. It has no goal, but it's currently raised €32,065, which, if I don't know the exact conversion, but I imagine that's about $40,000.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot higher anyway.
And they have 11 countries for their tour now. I think last time we checked in, it was 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think it was 9.
They're now going to Finland, Russia, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, the United Kingdom, Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, Belgium, and the Czech Republic.
Interesting.
Is the Czech Republic fall under Moscow rule these days?
No, I'm pretty sure they're separate.
Oh, okay, so they don't have to worry about that then. So, man, they're just going to be everywhere in Europe. I don't see France on this list, though. Do you think they surrendered?
Was Spain mentioned?
I
Yeah,
don't.
it was.
I just closed the window. I don't remember.
Oh, well. Because that would mean that that region is a little bit not going to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the first actual Kickstarter I have is one that we followed since before it was a Kickstarter. The Bubblegum Crisis Ultimate Edition Blu-ray set. It was the idea of Robert Woodhead of Wilmington, North Carolina. I almost said New Carolina. That would have been brilliant. He apparently works for Animigo and wanted to put together the money to buy the rights for the Bubblegum Crisis, Bubblegum Crash, Bubblegum Crisis 2040, and depending on the stretch goals, the AD Police, to put together a Blu-ray box set of probably one of the more notorious animes of the 80s. It ended on, gosh, when did this end? They took the date off it. Oh, well. Oh, excuse me, November 24th. Had 2,175 backers, a goal of $75,000. Final tally is $154,014.
Nice.
Wonder if they can put any excess into another series. But this is one of those things I would like to have on a shelf.
Mm-hmm.
That anime was kind of instrumental in getting me into this hobby. Another funding project that ended, and this last time I get to say this with honesty, is Tentacle Grape. a homebrewed grape soda that is looking to reformulate and create new bottles and new labels, usually in partners with cosplaydeviants.com. Their Kickstarter, well, actually their Indiegogo ended on November 30th. They had a goal of $20,000. Their final tally, they broke the mold. They had $28,117.
Nice.
They were running really close for a while there, but they managed to get what they needed.
Lots of people going to have cases of tentacle grape in their garage or wherever they decide to store it.
I don't know if I'd admit where I keep my tentacle grape. It's in the closet. But apparently at the Lounge 21 at Anime Expo a couple years ago, there was a bar that was selling this. It was a 21 and over lounge. They even made drinks out of this stuff called the Naughty Schoolgirl, the Tentacle Twist, and the Fisherman's Wife. I don't know if that means it smelled like fish, but I digress. I imagine we'll find more and more of this type of stuff on Drunken Moogle.
I came across... Oh, what? Oh. Oh, wake up.
Yeah. Let's see. We've also been following, thanks to Brandon, the HDMI Pi, a 9-inch definition screen for the Raspberry Pi computers. They ended back on November 30th as well. 2,523 backers, a goal of 55,000 pounds. They ended with 261,250 pounds. That's a lot of European money.
That is.
So obviously this is happening. Not only is it happening, maybe they can make a few 3D versions for that much money. Oh, jeez. Again, this is a very interesting turnout for a product that's basically an add-on to another product. But if they're making HDMI screens that small, who knows, maybe we'll eventually have those Dick Tracy-style watches. You know, ones that can do more than just answer the calls that happen to come in on your phone.
Video?
Possibly. Maybe some internet browsing. Well, that'd be fun, you know, to start looking up like Playboy.com while you're on the train. No, I don't know what that is. Cover up your wrist and cover up your crotch. We've also been following LFG, the animated series pilot. It's based on the Looking for Group web series. It is basically the kind of series of you telling D&D style stories about your World of Warcraft avatars. This one needs a defibrillator. It has 3 days to go and ends on Wednesday, December 11th. 1,219 backers. A goal of $196,595 Canadian. Currently sits at $64,473 Canadian.
Yeah. It had a good start, but yeah, it definitely died off.
Yeah, it tapered really quickly. You know, it's a shame. They had a lot lined up for it, but maybe they just have too many actual voice actors. Maybe they need to start with something smaller.
Yeah.
But not much to be done about it. It looks like this is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I came across a Kickstarter over our break.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, I made a connection to it. It's called a Pathfinder Dice Arena. It's some dice game based off the Pathfinder characters, and that it started its campaign actually on Black Friday apparently, and it's ending on December 30th. As 684 backers with a goal of $35,000. It is sitting at $49,840. It's already done.
Damn.
And it's got stretch goals as long as the Pathfinder Online campaign.
Wow. So it goes on forever and will stop in a heartbeat for Mountain Dew and the Venture Brothers.
Yep.
Well, another one we've been following is The Spider King, a story of an alien invasion during the Viking era, and what happens when Vikings go head-to-head with with Martians, basically. It has 4 days to go and ends on Friday, December 13th. 395 backers, a goal of $19,500 Canadian. Currently sits at $17,772. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Australian dollars. It's really close.
That's close.
So, I don't believe this person has this is his first Kickstarter, but that's a really good shot for a first one. You know, I don't know if I'd read this per se, but I gotta give him credit for getting this far. And something else that we found as of the last show is 9DKP anime project. It is Cats vs. Zombies. It's the tale of a bunch of boys who turn into anthropomorphic cats and fight zombies. I think I just gave you the whole season's plot.
Wow.
I pass.
It has 10 days to go and ends on Wednesday, December 18th. 89 backers, a goal of $159,999. Currently sits at $17,516. Somebody did not advertise well.
Yeah, that or I don't know. They could do what I did and start picturing like the Thundercats killing zombies.
This actually looks more like Hello Kitty on acid attacking zombies.
Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah.
You know, let alone if I was one of these mighty cats, I don't think I want a number emblazoned on my head. That just screams order to kill in. But who knows? And another one we followed last week is Super Blow the Cartridge, the retro gaming comic book. Someone's putting together an independent comic book of jokes basically about games from when most of us were kids. It has 10 days to go and ends on December 18th. Has 52 backers, a goal of $1,000 Australian. Currently sits at $2,521 Australian.
Awesome.
This one is going. I gotta admit, I mean, the art is not my style, but the humor does appear to be just what I need.
Yeah.
And we also found the Kickstarter for Fearless Dawn, which is apparently the second volume in an independent comic book series. The storyline is about a feisty action heroine who's trying to escape the clutches of something called the One-Eyed Hans. That sounds like a hentai title. But it has 30 days to go. This is a very long one that ends on Tuesday, January 7th. Has 260 backers, a goal of $6,800 US. Currently sits at $14,461. This series is occurring for sure. Sounds like he's got a pretty good fan base going too.
Mm.
The art style is pretty interesting. It could use some inks, but I get the feeling these are a bunch of prelims that he's showing off just for the Kickstarter. And something did end not too long ago. The Fifth Dimension. It's a retro-style photo book that involves 60s-style science fiction robots and people fighting. It's inspired by 1950s Chicago. It was done by Justin Brenzel of Chicago, Illinois. It ended... When was this? It says 3 days ago, so that would be, what, the 5th? It ended the 5th, I'm sorry, of December. Had 512 backers, a goal of $20,000. His final tally was $33,132.
Holy cow.
Yeah. This is the kind of book I would love to have on a coffee table just because it's interesting to me. It's got a nice concept. Actually, his photography is pretty good too, so that helps.
Yep.
Something that Brandon sent me. Would you guys pay for a remote control paper airplane?
Maybe.
When I was a
Not.
kid,
Price.
when I was a
But I know-
kid, definitely. Now, not so much.
Well,
I know some adult kids who are interested in that.
well, here's the thing. It's called Power Up 3.0, a smartphone-controlled paper airplane. It's basically a small motor and a Bluetooth transceiver that you can put on a paper airplane and fly it as if it was one of those expensive ones. It's being done by Shai Goiten of New York, New York. It has 47 days to go and ends on January 25th, 2014. 9,267 backers, a goal of $50,000. That 9,000 people has given this man so far $513,355.
Good God.
Apparently there's a lot of us immature people out there.
3 being here.
Well, actually, this won the Best of Toy Fair 2013 by Popular Science.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it's
That's
been...
an advertisement.
He's got a lot, actually. This device has been on Super Compressor, Gizmo, Mac Forever, Wired, Gizmag, MakeUseOf.com, Gizmodo, WESN, VB, Engadget, and a few other places. Some of the bigger packages, he's actually got 8 people that have backed at the highest level at $500. You get the kit in an aluminum case with an exclusive pilot hat and flight jacket with your name on it. And I backed up Power Up 3.0 on Kickstarter, stitched into it. He actually has put up a lot of stuff for that money.
Mm.
But I don't know what the base package is. See, apparently the basic package is only $40. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, the basic package for this thing is only $40. You can get it for $30 if you back this thing. So it's not that expensive when you think about it. All you got to do is fold up a paper airplane, hook it on, and let it go.
And have a smartphone.
And very few people don't have at least one these days. Even V has one.
Yeah, I was
I
just
don't.
about to say, even I.
But all it is basically a motor and transceiver connected to a small bar, so there really isn't much of this product. It's probably a little difficult to break as long as you hook it up correctly. So, power to this guy, man. He's made something that people are just loving, apparently. And even the transceiver on this thing is only a little longer than a quarter. An actual quarter. So, amazing. Amazing what people will put money into. Something I found out about a little late, and I wish we had time to talk about this, because I would have put money into this. How would you like a flask that could be hidden as a cartridge? A Nintendo cartridge.
A
But
flask?
it's a drinking
Yes,
flask.
it's a drinking flask. It's called the Ink Whiskey Concealable Entertainment Flask. It is in the shape of a Nintendo cartridge, even with faux labels to make it look like Duck Hunt, which they call Drunk Hunt. You can twist off the small tab where everyone would use to grip these things and put them into the machine, and that's where the alcohol goes in. It ended way back on November 23rd, had 1,344 backers, a goal of $12,000, and ended at $39,905. It was done by Ink Whiskey of Portland, Oregon. This is just one of those nifty little things that wouldn't have to be alcohol necessarily, but I can imagine a lot of uses for this thing in a gamer's cabinet.
Yeah.
I would just get frustrated because occasionally the kids would go in there and suddenly you have like Mountain Dew in the Nintendo. But they had some interesting labels: Drunk Hunt, Bar Hop Brothers, Castle Vodka, The Legend of Drink, and Metal Beer.
The Legend of Drink or Metal Beer, either of those would work.
Well, it's going to be out there somewhere. Who knows? Maybe they'll have a retail version.
Would be nice.
Yeah. There's something else that came to my attention, but this one's in rough shape. It is being done by a company called. Actually, it's not a company. It's being done by Jen Tate. She wants to open up a hobby store called Black Dog Hobby and Game, and she's looking for donations via GoFundMe.com. I don't know. Let's see. Where do they keep the dates and the timelines on this thing? I don't see dates here. But it's been open for 21 days. It has a goal of $17,600. I would think you need more to open a store, but maybe she's got some other funding. She's had 11 donations for a total of $607 in 21 days.
Yep.
That's it. And if this is the usual 30-day timeline, then that means she has only 9 days to come up with another $17,000.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully she's advertising.
Well, I found this on
everything about it.
Facebook, but I can't remember who sent it or whether or not it was one of those things that somebody paid to advertise on Facebook. But, she and her husband apparently feel there's a lack of place for tabletop and board gamers to play in her area, wherever that is. Oh, excuse me, Chesney Park, Illinois, which is probably true.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, tabletop gaming is kind of a dying art these days with the advent of the internet.
No.
Yeah.
The last few times I've been in a bookstore, I can't even tell you how many of the... I used to find the tabletop books right next to comic books. Now I can find comic books, graphic novels, but I really can't find tabletop books anywhere. I have to order them, if anything.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think-
Pronoun. Yeah. They had tabletop books, at least Pathfinder books, at Barnes and Nobles in Merced. So I mean.
And how many Barnes and Nobles are left?
Well, ours is still here, thankfully.
They closed half of mine.
I think maybe people just order the books off the internet now.
Yeah.
Or get the PDFs because tablets.
Eh.
I like PDFs because they last.
I like books.
I
do like books, but I mean, we've had our Pathfinder book for 5 years now, and it's not doing so well.
Yeah, I know. I like books. I like sitting there and staring at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I ever have a tablet and I'm staring at a story, I'm probably going to think of something I need to look up and just start going, very ADD. Let me see. V, I think, sent me this one for board game storage chests and tokens.
Yes,
it's being
so
done
cool.
by Bobby Go 7 Gaming. He's come up with a system, basically, to... oh, okay, my browser decided to cheese up on me. It's basically a system of organization. It looks like some kind of cardboard or acrylic box that you can use to organize all your various gaming implements, including dice, pieces, cards. You know, all kinds of drop-in inserts so you can keep track of this stuff, instead of the drawer of crap which most of us have.
Yeah. I'm actually considering going, I maybe should look into this.
Well, you may want to. It has 25 days to go and ends on January 2nd. 252 backers. A goal of $5,000. Currently sits, after 5 days, at $15,526.
So this
sorry.
is getting made.
Yes. Let me see. For $7, you get a set of 13 custom acrylic hearts for your copy of Love Letter, and no longer try to imagine those red cubes representing your measure of love on the princess. For $12, you get the single bit box, and it says here, you've got some tokens and need a nice home. We have 8-bit boxes you can choose from. We'll ask for your preferred model and post-campaign survey. At $4 in Canada for shipping, at $50 for worldwide shipping. Let's see, there's trays at $16. At $18, you get 108 custom disease germiples for your copy of Pandemic. Damage tokens package, LG insert. It looks like the actual inserts start building up at about the $26 range. And see, it goes all the way up to $64. You get the Bitbox Bonanza, which appears to be the larger box. The storage chest, which I think is what you'd be looking for, Steve, starts at the $75 level. That includes a travel case. It can be engraved with one of their engraving options, and includes an insert kit, which is some of the smaller boxes for cards and tokens and such, plus 15 dividers. You know, for a little bit of an additional donation, you can get substitute different packages put in this travel case. At $110, you get a deluxe travel case. So it sounds like $75 is where you'd be thinking about.
Yeah.
Or just, start small and then when it's funded.
Yeah. And in addition to the donations, they have add-ons you can get. There's even, in some cases, apparently... Well, these things can fit into a briefcase, so this could actually help further... You can make it look pretty slick if you just open up your briefcase and there's everything ready to go. That's kind of cool. But we'll be sure to add a link, and I'm sure Steve's going to be looking this one up.
Yep.
Also, V sent us one that kind of creeps the piss out of me. Fire and Bone. Tiny digitally captured metal animal skulls.
I want one.
It's miniature animal skulls replicas using 3D scanning and printing. And it also has wax casting for these things. They are small rodent and animal skulls. Including American black bear, red fox, snowshoe hare, bobcat, beaver.
There's a giraffe.
Hey V, you want to wear a beaver around your neck?
That is awkward.
Hey, should we be worried?
I told her sacrifices only count when you kill it yourself.
Aww.
It has 30 days to go and ends on Wednesday, January 8th. It has 1,364 backers, a goal of $8,000. I'm not sure what this says about us, but it currently sits at $82,574. Apparently, a lot of people want to wear death. This is a little beyond me. But
yeah.
They've actually run out. Wow. Is this real? Yeah, they've run out of donations at $20, $25, and $30. They had 60, 100, and 100 of each of those. They're all out. And with those, you got a skull of your... The first one, you get a snowshoe hare skull. 60 of those, gone. For $25, you get a red fox skull. 100 of those, gone. For $30, you get your choice of a skull in yellow or white bronze. 100 of those, gone. The frick is going on?
There might not be freaks. They could be people who work with, taxidermy.
No, these are miniature skulls. These wouldn't be any good for
miniature.
taxidermy.
Never mind.
Yeah, and they had 3 backers at $600. They're all gone.
Wow.
You get a skull in gold with base, one of their skulls of your choice in 14 karat gold with an 18-inch chain and a display base.
Gone?
Yeah, it's all gone.
Wow.
Apparently, if you want your skulls, you better donate now because a lot of these are disappearing. They've also run out of $100 for 3 skulls with bases. They've run out of $150. 22 backers for 1 skull in silver. 9 backers at $190. Gone. 6 skulls with bases. Holy crap, there's a lot of people that want to kill something.
I'm with them. In fact, I think I'm going to back this.
Okay, I'm going to back away slowly.
Me too.
Wow. And something we discussed 2 weeks ago, literally, is Lumen, the Golden Warrior. That's the Kickstarter by Tonatzin Mondragon. It's for her superhero movie project. It has 19 days to go and ends on Friday, December 27th. 29 backers, a goal of $15,950. Currently sits at $1,500.
Wow. That started.
Yeah, she's got it going. For those who don't remember, she played Lumeria in the Who Wants to Be a Superhero reality show. I believe she was season 1. But she was a real fun lady to talk to, and she wants to come back on.
That's cool.
She sent me an email after it was done. She asked to come back because she said she liked our energy, and she was really surprised about how genuine we were being.
Energy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Energy.
I don't know who she talks to usually, but I mean, we're just being people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is, genuine when we're just being us.
I was thrilled when she decided to come on because she asked, what is the concept of the show? And I told her it's a virtual coffee table where it's like a bunch of nerds actually sitting around a table, sucking down Mountain Dew, tossing books at each other, and just kind of yelling over our choices. That's perfect! Really? So she was entertained. I have a feeling half of that was because of V, though. Those two connected on levels I've never seen before.
Yes, which is interesting because I often don't get along with other ladies.
We'll go ahead and move into news. First off, I have video game news. Since the last time we talked, everything's kicked into high gear since Black Friday, and the console wars are raging on because of idiots I don't understand. Remember we talked, I think, 3 weeks ago about how the PS4 runs at about an average of 140 degrees, which some people kind of freaked out about, even though that's pretty normal for a processing machine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, somebody decided to load another clip into the gun regarding the console wars, because now that the Xbox One is out, they pointed an infrared camera at it, and that seems to run an average of somewhere between 85 and 100 degrees, well below the PS4. So now there's people renewing their complaints that the PS4 just runs too hot. Although some people pointed out that the power brick itself for the Xbox runs at about 86 degrees by itself. So some people are trying to use math and really fudge these numbers and...
Well,
fuck.
PS4 has a power brick built into the box, I believe.
The thing is, though, I don't care. If it functions, the heat is kind of a minor issue as long as you're just keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly... It's a little mini
nothing.
space heater. That's what my computer is.
Yeah, I will say this: I worry less about the heat than I do than it just plain breaking down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Although
heat
is a cause of breakdown.
Yeah.
So.
Like I said, that's why you keep an eye on it.
Right.
I mean, remember when the 360 and the PS3 came out? How many different heat sinks and fans were produced for those things?
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't sound like a jet engine anymore, what the hell's the problem?
Well, I think the thing that made the most noise was always the CD-ROM anyway, so...
Oh no, those OG 360s, those made a lot of noise.
Wow. Okay. Well, I never played one, so...
Well, Microsoft is admitting, after some of the reports that have come out about the chewing error that you've heard about, it's a disk drive error. There's a percentage of the Xboxes that are running into disk drive errors. That clicking sound you hear, that sound that... It sounds like the damn thing is grinding on your CD. That's the disk drive motor that's not kicking in like it's supposed to. So they're saying it's a small number. I don't know what they mean by small number, but obviously it's an issue. At least they've actually admitted to it. I like that better than I like Sony's explanation of, well, turn it all the way off and then turn it back on.
Have you tried turning it on and off again?
Update your firmware. You update the firmware. It's your machine.
Apparently, my nephew just bought a PS4 and posted on Facebook saying, this new update that you released, it sounds really great. It's supposed to fix all these connection errors, but how am I supposed to download it when I can't connect? I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
That reminds me of a company I worked for at one point. They ticked me off because, they ticked me off minorly because they got a new IT company instead of in-house. And our computers went down, so we started calling them, and the IT company started complaining at us because they said, don't call us, email us your problems. The network is down. I know, email us the problem. Okay, asshole. I guess that means I'm getting paid for doing dick today. So, some Xboxes also had a failure to turn on, which sounds very reminiscent of the PS4 problems, but of course, like I said, both sides are just yelling at each other about why they suck instead of just trying to figure out how to fix it. And when I say both sides, I mean Sony and Microsoft actually congratulated each other after their Black Friday sales, and both systems sold 1,000 or 1 million consoles within their first weekends. Meanwhile, fans of both systems are just yelling at each other why they're idiots.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like watching knights and squires. The knights are congratulating each other and the squires are wishing death. But there was a list of 5 Xbox One titles to keep your eye out for, which are apparently the ones that they expect will actually change the landscape, but of course are not out yet. And of those are one of the games we've been discussing, Titanfall.
Ooh, yeah.
Damn, that game looks awesome.
Did you guys see the video I posted a couple days ago to our Facebook?
Oh, I missed that.
No.
Full trailer.
Ooh.
I heard that they also revealed 2 more mechs that would be able to use.
They just debuted those yesterday.
Nice.
They've also got Project Spark, which is something similar to Sony's Little Big Planet with the Sackboy. It's an open canvas for creation. A known name they put in this list is Halo 5.
Mm-hmm.
Quantum Break, which promos have been out for like months now, which it does sound like an interesting concept where policemen are trying to solve crimes as they happen by slowing time in the vicinity of the incident. And Sunset Overdrive, which I've never heard of, which they call some of the wildest weapons in the gaming world and is looking to top itself with open-world action, including a gun that fires vinyl records or runs on energy drinks.
Okay.
All right.
Red Bull gives you death! Ah!
So basically, it's a gamer.
It just sounds like one of those groovy things.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there was an article put up by Taro Q Tenon of BGR, and he states that stellar Xbox One sales highlight what a disaster the Wii U has been. That's his opinion, but statistically he does have a point. Because during the first 48 hours it was out in the United Kingdom, the Xbox One sold 150,000 units, which is pretty good. In those 2 days, they sold the entirety of how many Wii U's have been sold in the last year in the UK.
Oh.
Ooh.
The Xbox One is not a total triumph because the TV standard compatibility issues are making British television content on Xbox unwatchable.
Ooh.
It's because UK televisions operate in the 60 megahertz frequency, while US televisions are usually 60 minimum.
Yeah.
That's an issue. That means the system is overpowered for British standards. But I do think he has a point, though, when the Wii U just is not selling well. I actually saw a report where Nintendo is trying to figure out if they can sell this thing without that tablet controller that comes standard with it. Because of the current operating system, that's impossible, but as one reporter pointed out, if the Xbox One can be repackaged so that it doesn't have to be connected to the Kinect sensor, then it should be a pretty simple matter to reprogram the Wii U to work without this giant tablet. He has a point.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that was a very interesting thing for them to add on.
I just haven't really heard anything about the Wii U since it was released.
To be honest, I mean, I loved Nintendo when I was a little kid, but ever since, I went PlayStation and Xbox, it's like, I haven't even really looked at Nintendo. I think they shifted their focus, for a while to the extremely younger generation.
I don't think it was younger. I think they were
I don't think
I think they were seeking the casuals.
What?
I think they wanted the casuals. The Wii U was one of those machines that worked very well for people who weren't generally gamers at the time.
Yeah.
Or not the Wii U, the Wii, I should say.
Yeah.
And when those people grew bored, Nintendo failed to actually reinvent themselves and capitalize on the interests they had, and those people have moved on to mobile gaming for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't moved on into other consoles. They just found other things that were easier to get into because you already have a smartphone or a tablet. Why do you need to buy an extra console? But
The most use I have for a Wii is for the Wii Fit.
most use I have for Wii is propping up a table. Sony has said that the PS3's lifespan and first-party games and PlayStation Plus support is not ending anytime soon.
That's good.
Similar with the lifespan of the PS2, they expect the PS3 to be around for quite a while. According to Worldwide Studios, our first-party mandate is to support all of our platforms, but they're particularly focusing heavily on PlayStation 4 right now. So they're going to continue to support PlayStation 3, but you'll see a majority of the titles launching for the PS4. We've obviously talked about some of the titles to come, and when you're looking at PlayStation 4 side, titles like The Order and Uncharted, those are obviously big investments to be made, unquote. So, yeah, PS3 is going to be around for a while. 360 I haven't heard about, but I don't expect it to... Microsoft has a history of when they come out with a new product, the previous one has about 12 months before they stop supporting it.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah. And Capcom's released videos of the new Ultra combos of 4 out of 5 characters that are coming in Ultra Street Fighter 4. I guess you could say the 4th paid upgrade for this game.
Mm.
I can post a link to those. I found them on Screw Attack, but at the same time, I do agree with one complaint, is that it's not really an upgrade when these 4 characters were already in Street Fighter Tekken.
Mm.
It does seem does seem a little bit of an asshole move to just, push another disc on us for $40 and say, look, it's sort of new. There's only one brand new character that they still haven't announced yet, whoever that is. I couldn't even guess at this point. Maybe it'll be Sean. They'll add another karate gi to it. Remember just before the break I mentioned there was a creepy new ad Atlas put out that was a fetus with a fake heartbeat?
Oh, yeah.
They've announced what that's about. 4 new Persona games, including Persona 5.
Oh.
They're coming out for the... one is for the Vita, one is for the 3DS, and 2 is for the PS3. Persona is a very popular RPG series in Japan, and it works very well with anime fans in the US, too. It tends to be mysterious and involves a lot of dimension hopping, I guess would be the right word.
Yeah, I've never gotten into it, but yeah, it is very big.
Unfortunately, they really became big over here and got my interest around the same time I started having kids and didn't have a lot of time for RPGs.
Yeah.
So, go figure. But I should have added this to some of the previous stories. Microsoft has vowed to take care of all customers who have faulty Xbox Ones that emit those grinding noises.
Ooh, nice.
They said in a prepared statement via Polygon, quote, "We know that with a hardware launch of this magnitude, customers will have questions, and we have many avenues for customers to get the answers they need and get back in the game as soon as possible. Rest assured, we plan to take care of our customers," unquote. Not much of an answer, but at least I like the intent to actually do something about it rather than, it's a problem with your firmware.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sony, take a look.
And, you guys heard of that Mortal Kombat web series that's been out lately? I don't remember what it was called.
No.
I
No.
heard
There was a web series that's been out with several notable actors, including like Jerry Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah. That Warner Brothers put out was originally supposed to drum up interest in a Mortal Kombat movie. Instead, they've turned it into a regular series on, I think, Netflix. Which...
Okay, that
no,
is
YouTube.
sort of
I'm
ringing
sorry.
a bell now.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's on
I
YouTube.
think it's called Requiem or something like that. But it's done fairly well. Well, Ken and Ryu have been cast for Street Fighter Assassin's Fist. It's a web series.
Okay.
Let me see. The pictures are, it looks like they're going to be going for the first story to be in the alpha timeline. I see somebody giving Ken makeup, and he's got that tremendous ponytail. The story seems to center on Ken, Ryu, and Goken, the guy who trained them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also video that looks like Akuma's going to be part of the series as well. So far, they've cast Joey Ansa, who was in The Bourne Ultimatum, Togo Igawa, who was in The Last Samurai and Memoirs of a Geisha, Mike Moe is playing Ryu. He was in Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. Draw your own conclusions. Hal Yamanuchi is going to play Senzo. He was in The Wolverine. And Mark Killeen from Game of Thrones is playing Ken's father.
Mark who?
Mark Killeen. I'm looking who's supposed to be playing Ken. I may have missed that somewhere in the story. Oh, Ken is going to be Christian Howard. Actually, some of the backdrops they put together aren't bad. And these, as far as young Ken and Ryu, these aren't bad-looking guys. So, hopefully... I'm always good on original content, and I like good stories. You gotta admit, most of the time when Hollywood gets involved in movies based on fighting games, it tends to be a whole lot of action and just as much story that was in the game as in none.
Bad memories of bad movies.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually watched any of said movies.
First Mortal Kombat's a good cheese fest, but the second one was really painful, as in like scrotum cancer painful. But moving on, Sega, they are allowing Atlas, which I think was recently purchased by Sega, to use their classic IPs. There was an interview in Famitsu with the CEO of Sega, CEO of Sega Sammy, Naomi Sumuri, and according to her, quote, "While we have no intention of forcing this, we definitely love to have them utilize any of Sega's dormant IPs," unquote. And considering Atlas is rather notorious for the JRPGs they put out, some people are speculating maybe that means Phantasy Star is going to get a revival.
As an actual RPG rather than a somewhat...
second-rate shooter? Sorry, that's my opinion, I know. But, yeah, that's what they're hoping, is that we're actually going to get the RPG again. Speaking of video game news, EA shares have taken a tumble recently, and apparently that's because their marquee game lately, Battlefield 4, has run into glitch trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they... weren't you telling me, Jesse, that they decided to halt all the...
halt any future expansion and DLC for it until they fix it.
That's not the only thing they did, actually. They've halted production on all other projects until they fix it, which means things like the Mirror's Edge sequel, a Star Wars game, and... something else is being halted, but they say it won't affect their release calendar until Battlefield 4 is fixed.
Well, I mean, at least they're taking it seriously.
Yeah. They weren't very specific in the story as to the technical glitches, largely because it was a monetary story due to the stock crash. Let me see... The company said in a prepared statement, quote, "We know many of our players are frustrated and we feel your pain. We will not stop until this is right," unquote. That says the right things.
Mm-hmm.
But whether or not they can produce is a whole other thing. I'd like to think if they produce 3 of these games already, they can produce a very nice, polished, finished product. I just would hate to see my Mirror's Edge sequel tanked because of it.
Yeah.
And somebody put together a 2-minute video of a look back in video games in 2013. I will link this because this was an awesome video that somebody put together. I don't know. I don't know who did it, but I'll put up the YouTube link so he can get some hits for it. And I would recommend you guys check it out because I had so many fond memories in that year, apparently. But we'll move into Marvel Media News, which is, of course, their television, movie, and internet projects. As of a week ago, they officially announced that Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen really are going to be the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver for the new Avengers movie. It makes me wonder why they took so long to actually announce it, considering a lot of people seem to know it already. Maybe there just wasn't a contract formally signed.
Wait a minute. Sorry. Maybe there was still ironing out the issues with Fox.
There were no issues to iron out. The characters technically fall into both, and both companies were working in their own rights. It was just a very odd problem.
Yeah.
But there is a new video released on a viral marketing site called thebentbullet.com that indicates that in the Days of Futures Past storyline, Magneto was the one who flung that second bullet into John F. Kennedy's head.
Oh, yes, I saw that. I read all the...
Apparently Harvey was going to miss a second shot, and he steadied it.
Yeah, I read all the fiction work they did for that. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, it's a very different take on the magic bullet.
Indeed.
And in further Days of Futures Past, the writer explained why the story in the movie is going to be very different from the comic books, and he actually had a good reason.
Yep.
In the comic books, the one that was sent back in time to avert the crisis that mutants were kind of self-creating was Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde. According to the writer, they ran into a problem because it's kind of hard to explain why Kitty Pryde first showed up in the movies in the modern era, and then suddenly, when you look back in time, there she is in the 70s!
Yeah.
Should be minus 20 years.
Yeah, they said that the only way they could conceivably do this without involving Professor X or Magneto was to use the one guy who's been in most of the movies and has been relatively unchanged, and that's Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have had, the Shadowcat character in one of the X movies before, but I mean,
As a kid.
yeah. But if they're going to go all the way back to the 70s, she'd be way too young.
Unfortunately, some of the respondents are, of course, the fanboys who really are not thinking this through. There's one guy named Tyrone High who said that, in his opinion, the event really should be happening with our current president, not someone in our past, because JFK has been dead for so long now, there's no sense of danger. Because it was so long ago, the movie would be another dud, and we'll finally peacefully kill the franchise and reboot it.
Okay.
What?
He does understand that the movie doesn't revolve around the assassination, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Frickin' moron.
Considering the average level of reading retention and just like actual understanding nowadays in the U.S., and it's quite possible he has no clue.
Yeah, sorry, just fracking stupid. A big announcement that came out just a couple days ago. Bryan Singer has already revealed the next major X-Men movie villain, scheduled for release on May 27th, 2016.
Yep.
Yeah, I learned that from
last
one
night.
person that doesn't read comics.
Yep. Apocalypse is going to be the next movie villain.
Interesting.
Obviously, they said that they hired, I think it was Mark Miller, to do something similar to what Disney's doing with the Avengers. They wanted a full map and plan going into the future, which they apparently do have, which also means that unfortunately Fox is not going to let their meat hooks off the X-Men so we can have an integrated universe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though,
possibly online.
But the thing is that we have not heard what movie this is, because a lot of people are speculating it's another X-Men film. That may not be the case, because if you remember, just before Comic-Con, we heard that someone was working on an X-Force script.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's true. Although, from what I heard last night, I think the title was for X-Men 4 was X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah, but there was also a title of a movie called X-Men Origins Wolverine, which had really nothing to do with the X-Men.
True.
So this may be just their way of getting around the rights problems by adding X-Men to the title. And besides which, can you have a movie with Apocalypse and not have Cable?
It would be a little awkward.
Yeah. So, I'm not saying that's for sure, but I do think it's pretty likely this is the X-Force movie they're talking about. Especially since it's been, it's only been a few months since they started working on it, and 2016 would be about the time I expect it done. Also in X-Men movie news, Hugh Jackman. Remember we talked about how he wanted to keep playing Wolverine?
Yeah?
Apparently he may not. He may pass on the next Wolverine movie. His quote was that, quote, "I don't know whether or not I will do this next movie. I'm really proud of this movie, and I'm excited to develop something with Jim Mangold from the beginning because it's a great ride. That's exciting to see what we come up with, but I have a very high expectation of what it would need to be for me to star in it, and if it doesn't reach those, I won't be doing it," unquote.
Oh.
That almost sounds like a backdoor way for him to get out of it because he is 45 years old, and he's starting to get typecast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, when I heard he was in Les Miserables, I just want to know if he was going to kill Jean Valjean.
I can't believe he's only 45, actually.
He does look a lot younger than that. Maybe we should have him genetically tested. Maybe he's Wolverine masquerading as an actor. And there was a high-res poster release of a triptych poster for Amazing Spider-Man 2, which told a little bit more than I think they intended to at the time. Because the three posters together are Spider-Man facing down Electro, the Rhino, and some guy in a suit riding an air skiff.
3 guesses. First 2 don't count.
Well, it doesn't have to be a guess since the new trailer was released last week too, which includes views of both Harry and Norman Osborn. Let alone, there were several things that were teased in that movie. Remember we talked about the rumor that the Sinister Six are going to be in Amazing Spider-Man 3?
Yep.
As Harry Osborn is walking by what looks to be a bunch of high-level experiments in Osborn Industries, there was one that looked like a harness that had 4 extra arms on it, and another one that looked to be a pair of wings.
Yep.
I like...
What is this referencing?
The Sinister
Dr.
Six.
Octopus and
the Vulture.
Yeah, the Sinister Six is generally 6 of Spider-Man's worst enemies that get together just with the express purpose of wanting to put his head on a pike.
Really? Because
Yes.
it doesn't seem like Spider-Man needs that much dedication, but...
He tends to defeat them all very regularly one-on-one, so their version of trying to overpower him as a team-up is just that Spider-Man usually has friends of his own that show up during these periods, too.
Yeah.
But it's not that he hasn't done it by himself, or at least survived.
No, half the time it involves a symbiote and a lot of broken bones, though. But Sony is also planning a few Spider-Man-based spin-offs. They haven't been very specific as to what, but there was word a while ago that they were working on possibly a Venom script. And Spider-Man has a lot of characters in his gallery of allies, including Spider-Girl, the Black Cat, different Spider clones. You know, one of them which is the Scarlet Spider right now, Silver Sable. So it seems like anybody that owns Marvel properties right now is trying to copy the Avengers.
Yep. That's kind of what I took away from it.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, they're planning on bringing in some of those characters into Spider-Man 4.
I don't know. I still want an integrated universe. I think Disney has the money. They should just buy this stuff back. You know, you wouldn't even have to reboot it. Just, buy the contracts out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in DC media news, I found something I forgot about, probably willingly. You guys remember the Macy's Day Parade back in 1989?
No.
Well,
No.
I know it happened. I did not watch it.
Okay. Back in 1989 was a Batman movie with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Back, that was the summer of '89, I believe. In Thanksgiving, the movie was so big they recreated the scene where the Joker's riding around on a float in the middle of the parade. They had an actor dressed up in the makeup, and he sang a horrible, horrible song. I will add a link to it because it wasn't just painful to watch. I think I lost sperm count on that one.
Did he rickroll everyone?
No, it wasn't a rickroll. It was just a really bad little song they put together for the parade. I mean, it was really hard to watch. But
Well, in that case, I won't.
But the biggest DC media news that came out in the last few months was that they have finally cast Wonder Woman officially.
Yep.
Warner Brothers has announced that Gal Gadot, whose most recent credits are the Fast and Furious films, will be Wonder Woman. She's an Israeli actress, so she would have the right skin tone and appearance overall. They'll probably put some contacts in her eyes. So if I remember correctly, she is a blue-eyed princess.
Mm-hmm.
But they said in a quote, not only is Gal an amazing actress, but she also has that magical quality that makes her perfect for the role. We look forward to audiences discovering Gal in this first feature film incarnation of this beloved character. I'm a little worried about this, frankly. Not just because Wonder Woman is a big enough character she should really have her own movie, but considering that she's going to be a technically bit player in the Batman Superman movie, I wonder if that's enough time for people to actually get an idea as to what the character is going to be about, or is she going to have some kind of cameo where everyone's going to have time to just dissect it and hate it before she actually gets into the role?
Yeah, I don't know. Either one is so likely. It is a little scary.
Yeah.
I heard that they're also planning on, at the very least, cameoing other, if not the rest of the Justice League members in this film too. I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea.
Well, we read, I think, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago that supposed leaked script pages that includes an appearance by the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to say, because if they do that, then that means, yes, they've brought out over half the Justice League. And I guess the hard part, though, is that most of the characters of the Justice League, it could easily be argued, are not big enough for their own movies. The Flash would be. I don't know if Warner Brothers wants to risk another Green Lantern film. And then you have Aquaman, who, even though he's probably the best thing in their comics lately, is still a running gag for most of pop culture.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, where else do you go? Because as far as I can see, the only reasonable movie property they have left is Wonder Woman, and it sounds like they're going to forego that and just head straight into the League, which will make her not just a bit character, but part of an ensemble that has to try and stick out as the only female.
Some people want just a League movie and not individual movies for heroes.
You could argue that they need it, because by the time they come out with this movie in 2015, we'll be knocking on the door of Avengers 2.
Mm-hmm.
Because if Marvel comes out with Avengers 2 and that's a hit, you can just about sink the entire DC franchise that isn't Batman or Superman. At least if they don't get the League out there. Yeah. But there is something to be said about rushing it and trying to get people used to the idea of these characters, because if they don't do something good with Aquaman, as soon as he comes on the screen, I can almost guarantee you'll hear groans throughout the movie theater. I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm just saying that because that's just one of those stupid fan reactions.
Yeah.
Speaking of Batman Superman, they're already building the set for the Kent family home. There's pictures of it online. They're already putting together the facade. I wonder if they're going to have more Kryptonians crashing through it, but And something I'm kind of on the fence about. Remember we discussed that they're going to have a Gotham TV series that won't involve Batman?
Yeah.
Okay, it is going to involve Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
10-year-old Bruce Wayne. Yeah,
they've cast a 10-year-old to be Bruce Wayne in this Batman prequel that's being called the Gotham TV series. This I don't like. I wasn't a fan of the Gotham concept because you could almost hear people screaming for Batman, but I think they're going to make it worse when you have Bruce Wayne but no Batman in a Gotham TV series.
That, and you've just hired a child actor.
Yeah, who's supposed to be playing Hurt, because this thing is supposed to open up with Detective, not Commissioner, but Detective James Gordon investigating the double murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne. So you set a series where we're going to have Batman but have no Batman.
Yeah.
And again,
interesting.
I'm not a Batman fan, but this is just a big, big syntax error to me.
Yeah. It'll really depend on how good their actors are and the writing, too. But.
Yeah, well, also in this series is supposed to be the supposed debut of a lot of the villains that Batman's going to end up facing. So what are they going to be, like 60 by the time this kid is ready?
Actually, one villain that they can actually probably use that's brand new to 52 would be the Court of Owls.
I was afraid you were going to say Professor Pig. That's got to be the lamest villain I've heard of in years.
And he's not new, so.
Relatively. I know he had a big debut in the New 52. Do you know what his concept is?
Not really.
He's a psychotic surgeon. He's one of those guys that when, he'll take off a hand and replace it with a foot. That's his thing.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
That's all he is. He's Dr. Moreau with less mutants.
Doesn't sound very interesting.
It's not very interesting on the page, at least not for me. I guess it's no coincidence that his first appearance in Forever Evil was when he was beaten the crap out of by another villain who just said, "Stop doing that!" But also, this week was the debut of Barry Allen on the Arrow.
Yep.
I don't know how that went because I don't watch the show.
They made him very lovable, to be honest. And I think they're setting the stage for the premise of his own show, which I think might work.
Well, he's always going to get his own show. Remember, we kind of laughed about the people saying, "Yay, Flash is going to get a pilot." It was always going to get a pilot. You always need a pilot.
Yeah, no,
can't have a show without a pilot.
I think it's one thing about setting up the stage for that kind of character, but it's like you need certain premises to work on. Without a good premises, it's gonna flop.
Well, that's still the same for every show.
Yeah.
I
think the premises that they're setting up in this is, could work.
I guess
it's going to introduce bring into the DC world about basically superpowered people, superpowered characters.
I guess I'm just wondering how much longer Arrow is actually going to go, because when they start the Flash TV series, I think they're going to get a lot of that audience, the casual ones. Because the Flash is a more recognizable name than Green Arrow.
Mm.
Let alone to me, Green Arrow often is, he's Batman with a bow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
it's my first feel when I first saw it.
So, and I never locked into the new Arrow series. There was things about it that seemed cheesy, and the lead actor, he always looks like his face is made of plastic to me. I can't explain it better than that. He never looks great. There was an article by Rob Ricken on IO9. He discussed something that I think we discussed. His claim is that the WB's plan to turn out small DC comic movies is a bad idea. Because Warner Brothers announced that they want to put out 3 movies per year, with budgets of only $20 to $40 million each on lesser-known DC properties. Some of those properties they plan on making these movies into: Deathstroke the Terminator, Booster Gold, The Suicide Squad, and Team 7. I know, V, you don't know most of those, and that's kind of the point. You're pouring $20 to $40 million in properties that you're hoping casual people have heard of. Not comic fans. Comic fans will spend money. But you want those people that are going to see movies to go see this stuff. And to give you an example, when you minimize the budgets to create some of these lesser properties, do you know what you get?
Crap.
Catwoman and Jonah Hex. So they're doing the same kind of thing with other lesser-known properties that I'm aware of, only because I look through comic covers.
It does seem like a recipe for failure.
Yeah, you can't really expand your universe until you establish your universe.
Yeah. What?
Team 7, is that the...
That's the rebooted DC version. Half of it is Wildstorm characters, half of it is DC.
Gotcha.
So that means characters like Deathstroke and Amanda Waller were on Team 7 alongside Grifter and John Lynch.
Whatever.
Wow.
I don't even care.
I sense great anger within you.
Yes. Something about fucking up my childhood.
No, tell us, what do you really think about all this?
No. We'd probably have to change the show to, like, rated R or something like that.
Okay. Well, like we already have an explicit warning on the show on iTunes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
We've talked about
Considering
superheroes.
some of our topics that we've discussed.
We've talked about superhero sex in your vibrators, V. How can you be surprised about this by now?
I'm not surprised. I'm just, I don't know, kind of proud.
Suck it, Sesame Street! Let's see. The biggest general media news that came out this week, obviously, was that Paul Walker died last week. He was 40 years old. He's been through 90% of the Fast and Furious films, including the one they were currently filming, number 7. Yeah. They were halfway through production when he died.
Yep, it's been put on indefinite hold.
Yeah, they need to rework the script and figure out whether or not his character is going to be involved in the movie at all right now.
He's coming back home from a charity when it happened, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was in a joyride with a friend of his he owned a racing team with. I'm very sorry he's dead, but what I want to know is why people are suddenly digging so far into his personal life, interviewing his girlfriend, talking to his mother, talking to The Rock, yet Nelson Mandela died within a couple days, and all we get is a couple mentions.
Yeah,
Well,
it was pretty sad.
Oh,
Nelson Mandela is, what, 95?
He was 95 and had a few issues with health going into the last couple of years.
Yeah,
But I
Paul
think
Walker is 40. I think that's the issue there.
I think it was just celebrity, frankly, because
Stardom, but yeah.
Celebrity and pop culture.
yeah. I mean, one of the things I read was on Facebook. There was a conservative person I saw who had like 8 quotes by Mandela, and he wanted to know why we were even sorry this man died, because he had a couple anti-American quotes. But as someone else pointed out to him, Mandela to the conservative world is like what Mandela was to Africa. The man wasn't an African national. He wasn't an American who happened to be living in Africa.
Yeah.
The man has a right to his opinions, and he was trying to build a better African nation without apartheid and racism. What happened in America half the time probably doesn't help, frankly. Especially when you consider...
People are going, well, why don't we just move there?
Yeah. Well, not just why don't we just move there, but I mean, at the time he was growing up and kind of a counter-culture revolutionary, he was living in an area where a bunch of white people were beating down, the wishes and needs of the black people in the area. So American culture wasn't very helpful at the time when you think about the 70s.
Yeah, no.
So, I don't know. I just think Mandela was a bigger loss than Paul Walker because, not to speak badly, I've seen the Fast and the Furious movies. I don't need more of those.
Yeah.
I actually had no idea really who Paul Walker was until he died.
They're in
I've
his
never seen any of his movies.
Yeah. But also, just after we took our break was the Day of the Doctor Who special, which is going to be the second to last regular appearance of Matt Smith in the role. It broke a Guinness record.
Ooh.
Yep.
It was simulcast in one day in 94 countries across 6 continents.
Yep.
The special was literally aired at the same time all across the world. You know, Stephen Moffat was even presented with a world record plaque.
Nice.
So they have something to talk about, and the show was very successful. Good. Yeah, and there's actually a link I'll put up from BuzzFeed. They had 35 Easter eggs that were in the Doctor Who special.
I think I saw a lot of them.
Yeah, from the 50th anniversary. It was put out on the 50th anniversary from the beginning of the series. So there was a lot of stuff they actually referenced that I don't understand or know about. But, you know, that's my issue.
I got a bunch of things, whereas I like the classic series a lot, so.
Well, Frank Darabont, he was the showrunner on The Walking Dead for a long time. Up until I think the midway through the 3rd season. He has a lot of bad things to say about his bosses. Somebody at Variety asked him if he still watches the show. His quote was, "Oh God, no, why would I? If the woman you loved with all your heart left you for the Pilates instructor and just sent you an invitation to the wedding, would you go?" There's a deep commitment and emotional investment that happens when you create something that's very near and dear to you. And when it's torn asunder by sociopaths who don't give a shit about your feelings or the feelings of your cast and your crew because they have their own reasons to screw everybody, that doesn't feel good, unquote.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't know the details as to what he's talking about, but dude, might all.
I don't know. I could definitely see, yeah, if I had my own little project and it was supposed to go one way and people from higher up came up and said, nope, we're doing it this way, and it got my show canceled or, you know, got me ousted or, you know, whatever, I could definitely see a case for an extreme case of bitterness.
Well, the show hasn't ended, and if he left at the point I think it did, it's kind of odd because that's where the 3rd season suddenly picks up steam and it gets much better, and the latest season that didn't involve him has been pretty well acclaimed, so I don't know what happened here.
Yeah,
I still haven't been able to get through the 2nd season.
No, it's well worth getting through. And David Morrissey, who played the governor in seasons 3 and 4, he's getting some weird stuff from fans.
Considering it's a zombie show, it doesn't surprise me.
Well, wait, he talked to Access Hollywood. He said, quote, "I get a lot of fan art, so I get a lot of drawings and a lot of, like, weird photographs. Around about Halloween, I get lots of photographs of people who had dressed up as me with various degrees of success, I have to say. But the art I get, some of it, I have to say, is brilliant. And I get pictures, which are a standard that I can't believe, and I'm very proud to get them. There's some great illustrators out there." Unquote. He's apparently getting better stuff than Norman Reedus, who, from one person, got a used breast implant.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing, but okay.
Why? How does he know it's used is my first question. And if it's used, who did it come out of? But, you know, Morrissey goes on, he says, quote, "I've not had fake boobs, nothing like that," unquote. Oh, actually, he goes on, "Norman's trailer is this very weird place where he keeps it all, and he keeps it on the table there. It's quite a trip." I couldn't imagine just picking up this sack of silicone and going, "What's this?" "That's someone's tit." Ah! Can I say there are some times where I don't understand people? I think I've made that very clear in the... Yeah.
I see it every day at work. Okay.
Some people are putting together comparisons of 2 movies that I think are similar to the song on Sesame Street, "One of these things is not like the others." They are comparing The Hunger Games Catching Fire to The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Huh? What?
In what manner?
In what way?
What context?
Well, let's see. I'll read some of the screen caps here. Star Wars is about a ragtag group of rebels trying to take down the evil Empire. The Hunger Games is about a group of rebels trying to take down the Capitol. Darth Vader strikes fear in all the galaxy, while President Snow does the same to his country in a style without the need of a bulky breathing apparatus. Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, Plutarch Heavensby, is being compared to Lando Calrissian.
Okay.
They have their own ships. Many reviewers were already comparing the Capitol militants to Star Wars stormtroopers. I don't know. The militants can shoot. And people can't help but compare this image of Finnick carrying a mute Max from Catching Fire to Luke running around with Yoda on his back. One was a Muppet, one wasn't.
I think if you look hard enough, you can find similarities to just about anything.
Probably.
Yeah.
I just want to know why people think there's this much of a comparison and why they think we should give a shit.
Well, the giving a shit is the part that confuses me. Why people are making a comparison? Because it's two things that they care about.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things I care about, at least, there was a documentary about the making of Breaking Bad that actually had 15 things people didn't know before.
Huh.
You know that it was actually the final say of, oh my god, I can't remember his name now. Bryan Cranston, whether or not to have that scene where he's standing around in tighty whities.
Don't watch the show, so it means nothing to me.
Yeah,
But
there's a couple scenes where he's standing around in underpants, and somebody asked him, how he felt about wearing underpants in this scene when it's a relatively cool day in New Mexico. And Cranston apparently responded with, quote, "What's the most embarrassing thing I could be dressed in?" And the creator of the show, Vince Gilligan, replied with tighty whitey underpants, and Cranston said firmly, "That's what I'm going to wear, because that's what's right for the character." Apparently Aaron Paul, the guy who played Jesse Pinkman and Cranston's partner throughout the show, he was super intense even in table reads. He would come to tears while doing table reads.
Wow.
Apparently he was very into the character and very ready to go as soon as things were ready to happen. There's a scene where Bryan Cranston's character fights with his brother-in-law, and he actually told him to punch him several times because he wanted realism for the show. And Bob,
dedicated to the work.
And another item here is that Bob Odenkirk, who played the attorney Saul Goodman, who's getting his own spin-off, he wasn't a loyal viewer even after he got on the show. He'd never seen it before, and he didn't watch it after he got on. Sometimes he would film scenes, and he had no idea what they were about. But he was still considered a very integral part of the show, and I watched it from beginning to end. He was good in it. And the last item I will personally go through before we move on, it was that in the last season, there were a couple episodes where Bryan Cranston's character was apparently moved to North Carolina to hide out in a cabin on a snowy hill. They filmed that entire scene still in New Mexico. It snows in New Mexico.
In the mountains, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's mountains there, right?
I'm pretty sure there's some everywhere, yeah. So, there's some interesting stuff to be had there. And I have a story that will be of Steve's interest.
Oh?
Yeah, we already talked about Bob Bricken on IO9. He's the one who talked about I believe, the Wii U comparison.
Mm-hmm.
He has said that Robotech is the greatest love story of the 20th century.
I saw that.
Interesting.
He compares some of the things that happen in it, like how Rick Hunter is very clueless and he's chasing after Lin-Man May, who's chasing him, and yet there's this other character, Lisa, who's chasing him throughout, and he has some decisions to make. And he likes the fact that it's not a very clean story. It's not like he just said one day, I'm going to go to this one, like happens in a lot of movies.
Right.
Over the course of the series, he flip-flops a lot and does a lot of thinking. I'll link to it. It was just one of those things that stuck out to me as I was going through the news feed.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see his point.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he's wrong. It was just a very interesting point to make. In Star Wars news, they've apparently already built the Millennium Falcon for Episode 7.
That rust bucket's still around.
Still makes a Kessel Run. But apparently a full-scale Millennium Falcon has been built. A 1-to-1 scale.
Full scale.
Yeah, as well as the interiors for the ship. According to Yahoo sources and Pinewood Studios in London, the sets were built off-site, ready to move when Lucasfilm was ready to move into Pinewood. So they have a full-size Millennium Falcon ready to go.
Nice.
And already you can sense people who think they're Jedi trying to sneak around buildings at Pinewood Studios.
Yeah. Kind of want to visit it.
Well, it won't be the first time they've done something like this.
Yeah. Well, there was a first. Do you know that Star Wars has its own Instagram now?
Oh, that's that selfie thing?
Yeah, it launched with a selfie by Darth Vader. I'm not kidding.
He's not kidding.
Yeah, the picture is kind of interesting. I just want to know if when Vader took this selfie, do you think he did duck face? He could be. I guess it matters if that respirator starts hissing instead of just, doing that deep breathing. Oh well. The blaster for Han Solo was up for auction.
Yes.
It was valued at $200,000 to $300,000. And this was the one used by Harrison Ford in Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. This is the actual movie prop, based on a German C96 Mauser pistol. But it is a non-firing prop, so you cannot shoot first. Okay, somebody got it. In other media news, there's 2 actors up for the role of Sarah Connor in a Terminator reboot.
Ah, yeah.
The actress
be much younger in this one.
Yeah, the 2 actresses up for the role, and this will tell you a lot, are Emilia Clarke and Brie Larson. And they're apparently on the short list to play this role. Possibly the only ones. Emilia Clarke is one currently playing Daenerys Targaryen in the Game of Thrones series for HBO.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, she's supposed to be portraying, 16 to 18, right?
Daenerys actually started off in the book at 13?
She was 13, but she's 17 was 17 in the show.
Yeah, it probably helps a bit of the scenes where she's ridden like a horse.
Yeah.
But Brie Larson is also familiar to all of us. She's the one who played Envy Adams in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Hmm.
Does everybody remember who that is?
Yes.
I have seen the movie, but
She was the singer who showed up with a third boyfriend, the bassist.
Yeah. The ex-girlfriend of Scott that kind of set him on his downward spiral.
Yes. So they're both good-looking actresses. I just wonder what the concept of Sarah Connor is supposed to be in this reboot. To be determined.
Yep.
And Indiana Jones is now fully and wholly owned by Disney, including marketing and distribution rights.
Okay.
Well, I mean, if he's owned by Disney, I guess there's a little chance he'll be raped again by Spielberg and Lucas. Sorry, I've watched too much South Park.
Mostly Lucas.
No, I didn't have as much problems with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as other people, because it fell very much in line with how the other movies go. I mean, a lot of people just kind of lamented, there's no Nazis in this one, as if he's going to suddenly turn 60 and there still be Nazis throughout the world.
Yeah.
My only 2 real issues with it were the horrible Russian accent.
Yeah, those are pretty bad. Kate Blanchett.
And the random, the ending part.
The ending was a little long-winded, but it's what I expect from Jones movies. He tends to find what he's looking for, then everything gets destroyed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the Russians were not as menacing as I would have hoped. I guess my only real problem with it was the monkey scene. The whole thing where he's swinging through the trees, or Shia LaBeouf swinging through trees and somehow catches up to 2 amphibious vehicles going full tilt.
Oh, I kind of remember that, yeah.
That seems rather unlikely.
Yeah, but
I didn't think about it, but I didn't think much about that movie.
What were you saying, Steve?
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it, yeah. I didn't have as much problem with Shia LaBeouf as most people did. But
I didn't either.
I had no problems with that either.
I have a lot of problems with him through movies, but he was very controlled in this one. I think somebody reined him in.
The thing that the biggest 2 biggest departures of this was, the switch from Nazis to Russians. But again, they were moving forward in the timeline. Nazis weren't, as much of an issue. The Cold War had started, so it's going to be Russians. So I had no problem with that. And a lot of other people were upset because it moved to aliens rather than religious artifacts.
Yeah.
So wait, so they're bitchy about extraterrestrials and where let's see, Raiders of the Lost Ark dealt with vengeful souls.
Well, you got to remember, Jesse, a lot of religious fundamentalists don't like the idea of science and science fiction because it takes away from the message of God, in their opinion. I'm not saying general Christians, I'm saying fundamentalists. They get really weird about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know, the alien angle was weird to me, but maybe...
Yeah. And I do agree with a lot of the complaints about the whole nuke the fridge segment. That doesn't make much sense.
Oh,
No.
not at all.
Yeah.
And the Mythbusters agree with us.
Jumping off that, there's a Disney artist who worked on the character designs for The Princess and the Frog and Frozen. He reimagined the play Wicked as Disney avatars.
Yes, I saw that.
Interesting.
It's actually very good art, and this can make a very good movie if somebody would put it together and put it out. He actually does have some really nice-looking concept art, including Elphaba, the eventual Wicked Witch of the West. Oh, no, Elphaba was a sister. She was a Wicked Witch of the East, excuse me. I forgot. Wicked was a sequel to that story, not a prequel. But I would watch this.
Yeah.
And as we've discussed, there's a Terminator movie reboot. In addition to that, there's a Terminator series coming back to TV. What they're trying to do is create an intersecting series somehow that fits in the timelines of both the reboot and the original films.
Huh?
I don't quite know where this fits. Somebody described it as being during a period where Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese in the T-800 are still kind of fighting it out. I don't know if it'd be one of those episodic things where they're just being chased across the country by this marauding Terminator. I don't know. But maybe it's one of those things where the story starts similar to the original film, but it finishes off closer to the reboot. I don't know. I'm really trying to figure this out, but it's very muddled to me.
I
honestly,
want to like it,
when you're
but
mucking around
I
with
have...
time travel, that kind of happens.
Yeah, you have a point there.
I do. I want to like this idea, but I was like, I'm not sure.
I know. I know. It wasn't the greatest thing to bring up, but it's definitely one of those things that is of in the realm of nerd things we talk about. And there's a Terminator comic, so I had to bring it up. We'll move into Marvel comic news. Have you guys seen the images of the new Ghost Rider?
No.
Yes.
This Ghost Rider is a departure. His name is going to be Robbie Reyes. He is a high school student who works in shop frequently and has an affinity for muscle cars. The pattern of this Ghost Rider's outfit is pretty similar to the Johnny Blaze one, except it's a racing outfit, and this Ghost Rider doesn't do motorcycles. He does muscle cars. This Ghost Rider's wheels of choice is a flaming Dodge Charger, 1970 style.
Yes.
Imagine
like
that
it,
running
yeah.
you down. That thing spewing fire from all grills would scare the piss out of me.
Yeah, all four
honestly, I think this might work for them simply because it's enough of a departure that people can't get too upset about people messing up stuff.
Oh, there's already people upset that it's not Johnny Blaze in this series, but as they pointed out in the comics, there can be multiple Ghost Riders. It's similar to Green Lanterns. But the thing that just occurred to me as you were talking about this new take, a Dodge Charger on fire would be a heck of a more impressive thing to put on a movie screen than a flaming motorcycle.
Much more
Although the
intimidating
flaming
thing to see in the
motorcycle
rear
was
mirror,
pretty
too.
interesting.
The second flaming motorcycle is pretty good. The first one they put together I didn't like, the chopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always pictured Ghost Rider on a hog, not a chopper. But yeah, this could actually make for a good movie. Wolverine and the X-Men is relaunching, as we discussed before. We couldn't figure out what the storyline was going to be because it seemed like the school was closing. The school is closing, but it's closing for the summer. Marvel Comics has moved into this period where they don't do straight, 1-2 whenever you close comics anymore. They seem to be doing it in seasons with new number ones about every year or so. I guess it's a way for them to bookmark when new stories are occurring, and it's a good way to get new readers in with jump-on points. But this story is going to be basically a lot after everything has happened in the last, year in Marvel Comics timeline to the X-Men. Avengers vs. X-Men, Schism, Cyclops, all new X-Men. They've decided the schools decided that the summer would be a good time for a break, and a lot of the teachers and a lot of the students take off. The problem is there's a few left. Wolverine is still having to run the few that don't have homes to go through, like Idie, the girl who conjures fire and ice, Evan Sabanur, the clone of Apocalypse, and Kid Omega. But he's also hired a few teachers to help him who, since there's several that are taking off for this extended period, apparently some of the few remaining behind are Storm, who's head mistress of the school, and new hire Phantom X. Why you would hire this one to watch mentally unstable homeless kids is beyond me.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That is literally like putting a hammer right behind the bullet.
But at
But
the
then
same
again,
time,
you got a, long-lived killer running the school, so.
Yeah, I mean, some of the covers involve armor. I mean, she's about the most normal in the crew, and I say that including the teachers. But, we'll see. It was part of another one-word promo they did that included the word future, so this was apparently the future. But, speaking of promos, they had another one-word promo that said infamous, and they've already revealed what that is. Magneto is getting a series.
Ah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a hero series, because even though he's currently an X-Men on Cyclops' team, he's still Magneto.
Yes.
And they say that this series is going to be very much in line, where it's a series where you follow him, you can emphasize with him, or empathize, but you still can't decide whether or not you're supposed to cheer for him or not. Now, I like the concept, at least.
Be interesting to read.
Yeah, and as one of the fallout from the recent Infinity story arc, where the Inhumans are spreading across the planet, part of that is going to cause the reformation of the Invaders. For all of you who don't know, the Invaders were the original team of Captain America from the period of World War II that involved his sidekick Bucky, an android named John Hammond, who was the first Human Torch, and the Submariner. Well, those heroes are getting together in the modern because, as fallout of Infinity, the Kree are thinking about invading and taking over, since this planet tends to create so much trouble, and the Invaders are standing in their way. So you have the modern versions of Captain America, the android is back, John Hammond, the Submariner stands next to him, and instead of Bucky, you have the Winter Soldier.
Still the same person, but...
Yep.
Yeah.
But, I mean, one of the first things the Kree sends down to the planet is an Accuser.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
You know what Ronan the Accuser is?
No.
The Accusers are... Think of them as cosmic-level judge, jury, and executioners.
Oh, Judge Dredd?
No.
No?
They tend to carry giant hammers, and when they determine that populace is not following Kree laws, they have the edict to immediately order extermination.
Yeah.
Aha.
Genocide.
Yes. And they don't do it by themselves. You're generally leading a company. And Ronan the Accuser by himself is somebody who's been able to stand up to the likes of Gladiator, Silver Surfer, Nova.
Oh.
Yes. So they sent one of those.
Oh, shit.
Oh, actually, that's too early. We weren't supposed to talk about that yet. We'll move on to DC comic news. There was a passing of a very, very major artist that worked on DC for decades. His name was Al Plastino. He died back on November 26th. He was very big and did interiors during the Superboy and Legion of Superheroes era from the 1950s and 60s. He worked on covers up until the 70s, I believe. He was there when they created Supergirl.
Huh.
So this guy has been during a lot of instrumental periods in the period of Superman.
Yep.
He even introduced the Cosmic Boy for Legion of Superheroes and Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl way back in Adventure Comics 247 in 1958.
Wow.
So this, by today's standards, not the greatest art, but he was known for very expressive features, which was pretty hard back in 1950s comic books.
Yeah.
Well, back then, it was a lot of dot printing.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. So, I hope he passed peacefully. He was 91, and he had a long bout with prostate cancer.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a guy that deserved to be remembered. Also in DC Comics news, they have an alternate reality series called Earth 2. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the big draw was that the version of the Red Tornado in this series was Lois Lane.
Yep.
They transferred her consciousness into it, and a lot of people see this as a good thing because what they did was quote-unquote unfridge Lois. Fridging is a very, very negative term that's associated with DC because they tend to have a very harsh take on the female characters. They tend to get killed just for the sake of story, or without general purpose a lot of the time. And that's exhibited no more greatly than when Kyle Rayner's girlfriend was found shoved in a fridge. And I don't mean shoved in the fetal position.
No, yeah.
So when they say they're unfridging someone, that basically is a fan way of saying, wow, you brought someone back that you shouldn't have taken away from us! So a lot of people are glad to see it, and they say that there is a storyline to this. You know, her death in Earth 2 and reformation as the Red Tornado is part of the central story. This could actually be a story I'm reading because they have a Batman that isn't Bruce Wayne, and the biggest villain on Earth 2 is Superman. He's been brainwashed by Dark Side of Apocalypse. I wasn't completely crazy there.
Yeah. Red Tornado, was that a villain or a hero?
Started out as
that's why I was like, I thought I remembered it being a hero, and then I'm like, wait, no, but I think it was that's why I was getting a little confused.
I may have this wrong, but if I remember correctly, the original Red Tornado was created by Professor Ivo, and was made to take on the Justice League, but its AI program eventually came to see things the same way as the League.
Gotcha.
So think of it as DC's version of the Vision.
Okay.
Huh.
That simplifies it, doesn't it?
Yeah, yep.
And do you remember J.H. Williams? We mentioned that he was the artist who left Batwoman because they wouldn't let him write in a marriage.
Right.
No, he was the artist on it, and the writer was, I think the writer was Hayden Blackman. Well, he opened up a little bit about it, and he's basically not talking much about what happened with Batwoman. But he does say that there was a lot of editorial disagreements, and they just felt like they couldn't write the proper stories for the character, so that's why they left. But he is currently working on Sandman Overture, so he's much happier.
That's good.
It's nice to know they didn't completely alienate the guy. Excuse me. In general comic news, remember the Red Sonja issue we discussed as being done by a bunch of notable female writers and artists?
Vaguely.
Gail Simone is one of the writers, and it's basically a female character book being written and drawn completely by women. And it's already getting some pretty good responses by their head writer, Gail Simone, who's been known for turning around the character stories of Batgirl and Power Girl for DC. If there is a heavyweight writer... Actually, Gail Simone I wouldn't even call a heavyweight female writer. She is just a heavyweight writer in general. She has taken some of the weirdest properties, including The Secret Six for DC, which is a book entirely about villains, and made it very fun and relatable. So if there is an independent book out there to recommend, I think this is it. And Stan Sakai is in trouble. Now, Stan Sakai is a really big name in independent comic books because he's been lettering Gru the Wanderer, and he's the one who created Usagi Yojimbo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe.
Wow.
They're having an auction to pay for his medical expenses. What's going on is that he's battling a debilitating disease that's included a long hospital stay and convalescence, but he's at the point where he needs 24-hour care and medication. And it's more than insurance covers. So I think there's going to be an auction happening where people can send in artwork to be auctioned off to help pay for his medical bills. You can send it to Caps P.O. Box 656 in Burbank, California, 91503. And for people who can't draw and can't donate art, you can donate money to help out at Garage Art Studios. They've set up a way to donate through a PayPal account. So I hope he gets better.
Yeah.
We'll move into what I think is anime news. So, V, just stay awake, please. First off is something that really hits close to home. There is a cosplayer named Ali Ichi on Facebook. She posted a picture of herself in a Hinata Hyuga cosplay from Naruto, which isn't a big deal, except it's a close-up of her chest in a bra, with the sweatshirt unzipped, and it says, "Why do these offend you?" Her basic point is that the cosplay consent debate is going on, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with people who are confident in themselves showing off what they got.
Agreed.
Okay.
So she's trying to put together a movement that basically says that just because I'm showing a little skin doesn't mean I want you to touch me, but it doesn't mean you can shame me either.
It's okay.
It's reasonable.
Yep.
Indeed.
I'm not sure if I should post the picture. I mean, Webmaster might have a few fits. But, I may do it anyway. You know how cosplay is a very big thing in Japan. A lot of people tend to dress up as the characters they like. Well, they may have jumped the shark a little bit because apparently there's a bunch of cosplayers that frequently visit a park in Japan, and they're pissing off the regular visitors. Now, some people may say that's par for the course. If you've been to a convention, I would say that it's just like any other constituency. There's a couple people causing problems that the rest of us unfortunately have to deal with.
Yep. That's subject matter for work, for play, for every aspect of society. So
yeah, but this unfortunately is a lot of the behavior you expect from cosplayers who are a little daring, but unfortunately they don't clean up after themselves. Some of it includes these people climbing trees, blocking entire walking lanes to take photos, and moving things around in the park without putting them back.
Oh, that is so aggravating.
All right, and yeah.
Yeah, and some people, and it's like I posted on Facebook, some people would argue that, that's what cosplayers do. They all do it. And I told them, no. We all see them at conventions. They're the 2 or 3% who are off to the side and doing something really obnoxious. We just tend not to acknowledge them.
Yeah, don't feed the trolls.
Yes. So, for people to tell me this is normal, fuck you. This is not normal by any stretch.
Honestly, it's immaturity and lack of concern. There's people that don't know better,
or they don't want to know better.
Yeah, that once you reach a certain age, it becomes you don't want to know better. But
yeah, that's the unfortunate reality is that sometimes these people just try not to listen.
Yeah.
The park in question is Shuzenji Niji no Sato Park in Shizuoka, Japan. So it's not exactly a podunk place. They're taking up space in a pretty notable area. Still, F all that noise, man.
Yeah. It's going to be it's going to turn out badly because the people that do want to continue using it and are doing it properly are going to get lumped with all the bad ones. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
unfortunate.
Well, I actually have 3 pieces of news regarding Attack on Titan. It's a very popular series that I cannot get into because I don't know, it's a bit too much gore and violence for me.
Yeah, I've been resisting watching it.
Yeah.
I went as far as to watch the intro.
Alright, so Attack on Titan, as we discussed, does not fall in my interest, but a lot of people like it, so I'm not going to ignore it. There's a 2015 live-action adaptation coming. A lot of anime fans are already saying that's a disaster. I've heard of worse movie concepts that have actually been pretty successful, and Pacific Rim made a lot of money, so I don't see why this can't be done.
Yeah, honestly, I can think of a lot of live-action stuff that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So I guess I can understand their point, though.
Dragon Ball.
It just depends on what all they're going to do with it.
Well, it's not a U.S. production, dude. It's a Japanese production.
Well, I'm thinking of I was talking
to Jesse.
Geist and stuff like that.
Well, this has a director already, Shinji Higuchi of Gonzo Extraction, and he directed a movie called Japan Sinks. The script is being done by Yusuke Watanabe, who wrote the Gantz movie, and Tomohiro Machiyama, who's a film critic himself. It sounds like they're moving in the right direction, but the source material is actually a little rougher to deal with right now because the artist and writer Hajime Isayama, he has said recently that he had to scrap the entire ending for his series.
Really?
Apparently, the ending to Attack on Titan was so shocking, and he determined that there's so many love characters he couldn't go through with it, so he has to rewrite the ending.
Wow. Damn. Well, props to him, I guess, because I generally do prefer happier endings than they all died.
I think that's where he was heading, because so far, I don't know this man terribly well, but he does Attack on Titan and Claymore, 2 series where basically
really? This is done by the same guy that does Claymore? I did not realize that.
Yeah, I guess you can draw the parallels, because both series are about inhuman monsters who tend to eat people.
Yeah.
So, I don't quite know where this is all going, but yeah, he's going to rewrite it so I guess more people survive. And Attack on Titan fans are acting rather bizarrely because a character from the series, Mikasa Ackerman, arguably the most notable female in it, she was written in as a kickboxer, and it was and the picture was put up as a special prize for a trading card game event. I will add the picture because I don't know who drew this. If it's the actual mangaka who did this, Isayama, I have to ask about how good he is at this because one of her knees looks like it could kill somebody as a blunt object. And it looks like there's a shark fin sticking out where her knee should be.
Wow.
But some people are saying that they knew it. This character's totally ripped. Knew what? Can I take a little bit of a sideways here before we get into the nerd interest stuff?
Yeah, okay.
I've seen a lot of people who, especially on the Anime Expo forums, are arguing how anime is not cartoons. But, as a guy who's been watching this for, my God, how long has it been, dude? It's been like almost 30 years we've been watching this stuff together.
Yeah.
Okay. As somebody who's been watching it for almost 30 years and spending a lot of time thinking about it, yes, anime is cartoons.
Yes. Yes, it is.
The only difference
So
from
I can
another
say this
country,
to people
but it's
without-
cartoons from
Yeah.
another country.
And that's
like
not
saying manga aren't comic books.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
And
yes, it is.
That's not meant as an insult or to say it's just cartoons grow up. I mean, they are just cartoons. They're culturally different cartoons. Some of the arguments people put up were the most ridiculous things I ever heard. Like, well, cartoons don't have ongoing stories like animes do. Or like Ultimate Spider-Man does. Or like Avengers Assemble does. Or like Fairly Odd Parents does. Or like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles does. Or, or like DuckTales even did.
DuckTales, woo.
And other people just said, well, it's because it has adult themes. Well, I've watched several Disney films, and they have 16-year-olds marrying full-grown people, so I don't know what you mean adult themes.
Yeah, I honestly, it's one of those things where they just turn their blinders on, and it's taken how long for people to realize that they were complaining that Disney's current animated films and stuff that they're releasing couldn't
they wouldn't make it in like 1950s
area, and it's like it's been that way for a while. People were just like, oh, it's Disney, and
you mean like
they don't want to accept the fact that the stuff that they've always considered tame and perfectly acceptable when viewed outside of their comfortable little viewpoints.
Come on, Steve, to be
clear cut.
Come on, be fair, Steve. It was totally G-rated when those 7 drawers ran that old lady off the cliff to a horrible, crushing demise.
Yeah, or they shot Bambi's mother.
Right?
Yeah, but I mean,
in America, cartoons is viewed as a child's thing, where in Japan it's not.
Yes, it is.
Actually, it is.
It is.
Actually, it is.
Yeah, anime in Japan. I mean, otaku. Dude,
being considered an otaku who watches anime and reads manga and so forth is considered so culturally unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, the word otaku in Japanese literally means freak. Our fan name is Freak.
Yeah.
Look, it's a bunch of freaks. So, I mean, I just don't have an issue when people call it cartoons because they're cartoons.
They are.
They really are. There's nothing wrong with watching cartoons. They're cartoons.
I mean, I can think of several people who would tell me that it's wrong of me to watch Phineas and Ferb and stuff like that because they're kids' shows, and I enjoy watching them. So get the hell off my back.
Yeah, I enjoy SpongeBob SquarePants. There's some stuff in there that's damn funny.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy
There's
any of
other
those
stuff
things,
that I'm like,
but
no.
I don't care that other people enjoy them.
Yeah.
Why would I care?
We're sitting here talking about comic books. I don't see why you would.
Yeah.
In general nerd news, have you guys heard of sign language rings?
No.
This is an interesting design. They're rings that fit on the thumb and the first and second fingers. And what happens is people are making signing gestures. There is a bracelet that is wirelessly connected to these things that will either produce sounds or text as these people are signing.
Huh. That's kind of cool.
It'll make it much easier for people to communicate, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, at least for those of us that don't have the attention span to actually learn sign language.
Right.
We could always be adults and learn sign language, but we won't be. But at least
It's a lot of dedication.
Yeah, but look at it this way. At least now when somebody turns around and looks over my shoulder and signs, giant freaking robot behind you, I won't just stare until I'm stepped on. And there is a family who has broken a world record for Christmas lights.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, a family in Canberra, Australia has broken the Guinness World Records by putting 502,165 Christmas lights on their house.
Hopefully they only used it for a few minutes and thereby didn't kill their power bill.
Yeah,
Or, set their house on fire.
When I first heard about this, there were two things that went through my mind. First of all I could this picture was Beavis just standing off to the side going, fire, fire, fire. But the second thing I thought about was Clark Griswold is going to beat them next year.
I still have not watched that movie the entire way through.
You ought to.
I just...
How about this for freaky? In Japan, there is a bus that they've turned into an interactive starfighter.
Okay.
Nice.
All of the seats on this bus come with joysticks on the right side and a monitor in the back of the seat in front of you so that you can pretend that you are in a starship as it drives. It even has black lights installed and interior lighting. They will turn the lights all the way out as this thing drives.
Okay, but do they have like a video game or some kind of simulator built into this?
Yeah,
or...
like I said, there's a monitor in the back of the back of the seat in front of you, and there's a joystick connected to your seat.
Right, but I mean, it's not reflecting the streets. It's some kind of simulator.
It's a space simulator.
Gotcha. That's freaking awesome.
I wonder how much it costs to ride this thing.
I don't know.
Too much.
But they even decked out the interior. It looks like something. Frankly, it looks like something out of an '80s anime, complete with red and white stripes and those 3 stripe lights everywhere.
That's hilarious.
It's pretty cool. Have you guys heard about the animated nerd cake for a wedding?
No.
It's basically a cake that has white fondant on it. It's a 5-layer cake. There's a video I will see if I can link. But it was done... Who did this? I don't have the immediate information on who did this, but basically on this cake they can project several games going on, such as Pac-Man, Q*bert, and in one case, across all 5 layers is a 3D representation of Mario trying to save Pauline from Donkey Kong.
Wow.
The old 8-bit Donkey Kong game.
Okay.
This is one of those things I wish I knew about when I was getting married, because I would have loved this.
Yeah.
We can now see the coldest blobs in the universe. Physicists came up with a way to look at the weirdest matter on Earth, a super calm and cold gas called Bose-Einstein condensate. It used to be that when these compounds were created, they had an extremely short lifespan. Couldn't even catch them with radio microscopes. Now they've come up with a way of freezing these things in gas so that we can take an extended look at these molecules before they're destroyed. This could be really important because we could finally map out how to come up with new forms of matter.
Right?
So they can actually take longer looks at the spectrum and the makeup of these things. And there's a zombie comet that was supposed to be burned up after its latest ride to the sun.
Right.
It didn't.
Really? It survived.
The Icing comet? Yeah. It, or some part of it, actually appears to have survived its latest orbit.
No, it's coming to kill us.
It'll bite other comets and they'll come back to Earth. But they're not sure exactly how much, but they could definitely see on a few spectral photographs something definitively building a tail as it flew away from the sun. So some part of it made it. And China is getting ready to launch its first moon rover. Actually, it already has launched it. They're sending their first mission to the moon. It was from a 3-stage rocket.
They wanted to try and grow some crops up there.
They want to establish a colony up there. They're trying to figure out how feasible it is. Arguably that's
interesting.
It is something that you would think would need to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean...
But they're not the only ones with plans for it. I don't know if I have the story, but I remember reading that Japan wants to turn the moon into a giant solar manufacturing plant.
The moon wars are coming.
Yeah, they want to build a ring of solar panels around the moon, which, gets sunlight 90% of the time. And they want to beam that back via microwaves to Earth. So the moon is becoming contentious, because that means China has plans for a colony. Japan has plans to make it a manufacturing plant, and I think the U.S. is working on a colonization plan, too.
Russia probably has something.
Yeah, the chief problem is always sustainability, though, because you want the station to be able to sustain itself, not pray that every rocket you send up it does, actually makes it. Because if you miss a shipment, that's a lot of dead people.
Yeah, wouldn't the biggest problem be water?
Conceivably,
Not really.
I think they found reservoirs of water in the moon, but they're still trying to determine how deep and how plentiful it is. but I could be wrong on that. I know they hit the moon with several hard objects, and they determined in the spray of matter that there is ice in there. I just don't know how much. Oh, actually, in the a British think tank, is reviving a 40-year-old plan to build space colonies, so they're in on this too.
Excellent.
Oh, since
We're heading
no more real
further and
estate left
further
on this
towards
planet.
Gundam.
Yeah, or Valvrave.
Yeah.
The British Interplanetary Society is resurrecting the plan. It was originally made back in the 1970s by Gerard O'Neill. They actually had a plan back in the 1930s for a multi-stage rocket and manned lander on the moon. Apparently, it was very reminiscent of the Apollo missions that came 30 years later. So there's some pretty smart people in Britain. And 5 projects that are making space travel a reality is NASA may have found a way to begin growing plants on the moon by 2015. In metal boxes, not in the actual lunar soil, obviously.
Right.
But NASA's developing a 3D printer that'll help print food in space. So it may not be packets anymore. They may be able to structure paste in such a way to make fresh food. 2 companies are talking about mining asteroids in 2016. Deep Space Industries is going to launch the Firefly, which sounds like a doomed mission.
They're gonna have to name it Serenity.
Actually, here's the story. It was part of this. The number 4 item here is a Japanese construction firm planning on turning the moon into a giant solar power plant. The Shizumu Corporation is planning on building a belt of solar panels around the moon, the entire equator of it. And something that V's mentioned, item number 5, is that NASA's working on faster than light warp drive.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's exciting. It
Yeah.
even works.
If I'm understanding correctly, it even works similar to the Star Trek warp drive.
Yeah, you know what that means? We need more monkeys. Because I can guarantee you they're not going to put a human in this thing first. There was a giant alien planet discovered in the most distant orbit ever from its star. Exoplanet 106906b dwarfs any body in the solar system, and it circles its star at a distance that's 650 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun. So that's adding new questions that scientists are starting to ask about how planets are formed when something that massive is that far from the source of gravity. It is a viable question now.
It could be.
Unless it was a
Probably
rogue
like-
planet that somehow...
Or that, or maybe like a sun that failed to start.
Can you imagine if it was like DC's War World? It's just something that parked up there and is getting ready to head off into another galaxy?
If it was was that planet solid or was that gas?
Well, they haven't exactly gotten there yet.
Because it's a failed star, it would be a gas giant.
An artist conception, it has rings and is big and red. That's all I can really see on it.
Yeah, large planets are usually, well, maybe not usually, but whenever I see it about, they're always gas giants.
That's typically how they start, but I mean, even this planet would have started out as gas and somehow built upon itself. And, let me see. Do you guys know there's a storm on Saturn?
Saturn?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knows about the one on Jupiter.
Yeah.
The big red dot. Saturn has one of its own. Not only do they assume that it's 20,000 miles wide, not only do they assume it's hundreds of years old, but they've got pictures of it, and it's hexagonal.
Huh.
Nice.
It's got some kind of bizarre hexagon jet stream. I mean, you know, it's either a storm or something's getting ready to launch. That is a rather odd geometric shape to form in nature.
Saturn attacks.
The SDF-1 is warping out. So I'll link that. It's very interesting to see, including a GIF at the bottom that's a motion GIF that shows this thing spinning. It's in very odd colors of like sickly green, purple, and pink. It does look like the beginning of a sci-fi film. Here's nerd interest news that may hit V somewhere. New anthropological research on human behavior has found that when it comes to sexual selection, females aren't just passive objects of male competition, nor are they necessarily monogamous.
That makes complete and total sense.
According to this scientist, who this is after Sarah Blatter Headfree's Language or Langurs of Abu. This scientist, his name is Selza, is assuming that or at least is theorized, that female sexuality is an evolutionary trait where females are trying to find mates that will help further the species. So that doesn't lend itself to the idea of marriage and monogamy. It's the idea of who can produce the better offspring.
Right.
It's an interesting concept.
I think...
And it would explain clubs.
Yeah, I think mate selection and... okay, so I think mate as in someone to produce offspring, and partner selection are possibly two different processes.
Well, a lot of it though is going to have to come through getting rid of the usual societal issues of women not able to have multiple partners. I mean, a woman can be completely single yet still be looked down upon for having multiple sexual partners. I don't mean all at the same time, obviously, but for at least having a sexual history. I had to rephrase that because that was getting weird really quickly.
I could go on a rant, but I don't think this is the time or the place.
Okay. Well, have you guys heard of Cat Heaven Island?
No.
Nope.
There's a photographer named Fuburai who spent several years, 5, off the coast of Fukuoka, Japan. There's an island called Cat Heaven Island because there's a multitude of feral cats there. They spend time with the fishermen. They will play. They will, nest in rocks. They're not overtly aggressive, I guess you could say, but they definitely have the interest, the inference that they run the place because often when fishermen are working, there's a lot of cast-offs and they'll eat. He has pictures from everywhere, from islands to beaches to boats to streets, where these cats are just wandering everywhere. V, I think I know where you're putting your next house.
I do love cats.
There's even a picture here outside of someone's apartment where they're sitting on top of the air conditioner, out in front of the street, on top of some kind of bundle package, and 3 of them in the windowsill, including one climbing the screens trying to look inside, and all of them just appear to be going, brains, brains. So there's even a picture of one here sitting on somebody's parked scooter. It looks like he's trying to figure out how to steal it.
Cats are way smarter than people give them credit for. They just don't act smart when it comes to us because they want to go back to napping.
Yeah. Well, I'll be sure to link that because it's a group of interesting images. Newsfeed on Time. They've determined the #1 viral video of 2013, and it's one you would kind of expect. "Gentleman" by Psy. His latest musical export via video. I clicked the link just to check and see where it was at since we discussed it way back when the show was starting. It's over 500 million views.
Wow.
That means he's made a lot of money off that single video.
And here I thought they were going to say, what does the fox say?
That was #2.
Okay.
And I hate that video.
I love that. Well, I like the Stonehenge one more.
I studied zoology for 2 years. I know what a fox says.
I just like it because it's so...
I'm sorry, I studied...
ridiculous.
I know, but I studied animals long enough. I know what it says, and for someone to ask this ridiculous question pisses me off. But there's 10 videos. The third one was Space Oddity, sung by astronaut Chris Hadfield while in zero gravity.
Huh.
Oh, nice.
He had a guitar and everything. But some videos we know about, like the meteorite over Russia, that explosion, that made it to #5. So I'll link that story. Did you guys hear about the Ultimate Gamer wedding?
Nope.
No.
Okay. There was a pair of nerds who were getting married. And when I say getting married, I mean the groom even had like a knight's armor across his shoulders and his collarbone. All of the groomsmen had it too. And you know when it comes to that period where the priest is supposed to ask if anyone has any reasons why this couple should not be married, blah, blah, blah?
Right.
Okay, at the moment he asked that, a knight stood up from the audience and declared that he had a reason why they shouldn't get married. He came up and confronted the groom. They started circling each other. The knight suddenly drew a sword. The bride produces a sword and just says, "Get him, babe," and tosses it to the groom.
Nice.
So, in the midst of this fight, as soon as that's done, apparently a couple villains showed up, attempting to cause trouble, and then from another part of the audience, Iron Man and Batman come to assist the groom in fighting them off.
Oh, wow.
This was an actual wedding.
I love this.
And apparently they planned this they planned this over the course of 5 months without much help by other people. The priest wasn't involved, but to the priest's credit, as soon as the fighting was done, he said, "Let's move on, shall we?"
Was he at least amused?
I think he was amused, but he managed to keep his professionalism, which is really cool. And as let me see, who were the bride was a video game developer, Adam Bone, who's known as Artix von Krieger online. And apparently he said that his fiancée, now wife, was a perfect woman for him because he's been weird all of his life and she doesn't ask questions. The festivities continued until wrestling manager Jimmy Hart showed up in a custom white suit with bright red hearts on it.
Holy crap!
So, to run down a full list, at this event, family and friends had the right to be nervous and amused because at this solemn invitation unleashed a solemn spectacle of villainous wedding crashers, including a knight, a troop of ninjas, Iron Man, Batman, and WWE manager Jimmy Hart. I could only imagine how this went, and there's a YouTube video I will link. It is 9.5 minutes long of this particular spectacle.
That's just
Awesome.
He's missing a Jedi, damn it.
You can volunteer. Also, you remember we discussed Bitcoins a couple times?
Uh-huh.
I wish I had gotten involved in this one. Brandon gave me the chance. Did you know that for a little while this year, they were worth over $1,200 a piece?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Last time we discussed them, they were worth around $120. What that means is that at its peak, 57 Bitcoins could buy you a Model S Tesla Roadster.
Well, I don't know. I was just reading an article from one of the magazines we printed. Somebody did all of her Christmas shopping with the value of 1 Bitcoin. Came out to $800.
Yeah, Bitcoins are still currently trading at just above 800. They're kind of crashing right now because China has recently said their national banks will not support Bitcoins. So it's a pullback, but still, that means from a peak of about $1,200, they pull back to just over 800, which is still significantly more than they were worth a few months ago.
Yeah.
Maybe Jared should cash in the one he got.
Well, the thing is, I think it's because even though Bitcoins are starting to gain popularity in a lot of frequent online traders, there still isn't a major market that has said firmly they're behind Bitcoins yet. There's the ATMs, but there's a difference between ATMs being available and a nation actually saying we'll accept Bitcoins.
True.
So until that happens, their worth is going to be in a lot of flux, and I think they're going to go down further, but I don't think they'll go down as low as they were prior to this run-up. So if Brandon has that Bitcoin miner working again, he could be in for a lot of money in the near future.
Yeah.
Google's building a mystery barge in San Francisco Bay. There's a small island near Alcatraz, Treasure Island. They've apparently been building something. It's some kind of large barge. It's completely surrounded by netting, so nobody can see what it is. The San Francisco authorities are actually investigating whether or not they have all the proper permits to build whatever this is. They're being very secretive about it, and they haven't said what this could even possibly be. So it's creating a lot of confusion and a lot of interest. I'm sure by now they're probably chasing people off Treasure Island, and there's only one way in or out of the island. I think you can get... I think that's where the Bay Bridge crosses. There's a small landmass you make a turn through. There's a very short off-ramp there.
Yeah, something there.
Oh well, nobody seems to know what's going on, but it's creating a lot of interest. And the police may soon have a 007 style tactic to use to stop high-speed chases. There's a new system that's been put out by Star Chase. It's a Virginia-based law enforcement company. What it is a GPS tracker covered in adhesive. When they have somebody that's driving erratically, instead of creating a chase, what they can do is get relatively close to it and launch the GPS tracker, which attaches itself to the back of this vehicle.
It's a tracer.
Yeah, and they can follow it using a GPS system from a safe distance instead of forcing an 80-mile-per-hour chase down the highway.
That's actually pretty awesome.
Now, it's not cheap because it costs $5,000 per vehicle to install it, and then each replacement tracker is $500. But the arrest rate when using these things is 80%.
Oh, yes. Nice.
So there is a frighteningly good chance that if they follow you, they can catch you. I don't know what this would do for motorcycles, because that's a small target, and I think somebody would feel that being hit on his back.
Mm.
But the GPS module is coated with an adhesive and will not fall off. I wonder if that means that a lot of people who are committing crimes will start using GPS scramblers.
Or motorcycles.
Yeah. Oh, and there was a brilliant April's Fool joke back in 2012. It was done by ThinkGeek. Do you guys remember when they put out an ad for a Technomancer digital hoodie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Saw that.
do you know that it's real now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw your post on Facebook.
Yeah, back on December 5th, they put out a listing, and this thing is actually being sold. What it is a hood that has several LED emitters in the hood and in the sleeves, as well as motion trackers and slight speakers hidden somewhere, so that you can basically cast 9 types of spells from this hood. It has corresponding sound effects and light effects. It's $120 per hoodie. And the problem is that I found out about this yesterday. A week after it opened, they're sold out. So, after a week, they have sold out of $120 hoodies.
Yeah, I mean, $120 is actually, I mean, it's expensive, but it's not as bad as I would assume.
Well, here's the other thing. They limited it to 2 per customer, and they still ran out.
Damn.
I know some people who are cosplaying as Jubilee that would love to take this thing and dissect it.
Yeah.
But that's an awesome thing that they actually made real. I'm glad they did that. Now I just got to figure out how I can get one. And if somebody tells me it's on eBay for $200, go fuck yourself.
I know somebody is.
Yeah. And there's 12 real-life inventions that science fiction may be ignoring that they shouldn't. Now, think, because I've seen a lot of sci-fi lately, and it does seem they overlook a lot of very basic products that we have available right now. Facial recognition, drones, online tracking and advertising, the quantified self, when we try and integrate man and machine, we actually have biochips right now that can be implanted on the surface of the skin. Electronic circuits integrated with skin, we were just talking about that. Solar irrigation and biocare. The Human Microbiome Project. Materials that can make you invisible. Building consumer electronic parts using viruses.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yep. Batteries powered by your heartbeat. Electronic DDoS banking fraud. And super fast gene therapies. And I gotta admit, I've listed most of that, and I say 90% of it I don't find in modern sci-fi tales.
Yeah.
TV or book.
Probably find some in, like, the golden age of science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just watching some program on Discovery, I think. They were talking about they were finding a way to basically create an inorganic brain.
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
Actually creating, because memory is linked to DNA.
Oh,
and
that's
molecules and
the
stuff.
Futurescape.
Yeah.
Yeah, future. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's changing the world out there.
Gives new meaning to the word memory foam.
Yeah, really. But now, because we were off for a while, we have a good amount of what the fuck news this week, and there is a lot of what the fuck to be had. First off, there was a teacher in Japan who got in trouble for firing off a student's gun.
Good.
Okay.
I am not kidding. There was a teacher he was a 25-year-old, and he picked up a toy gun, which apparently had been in his cabinet for a few days, that he confiscated from a child. And he just was looking at it, pulled the trigger, and he found out it's not a toy gun.
Oh, shit.
Fortunately, no one was shot, and 2 days later, staff decided it might be appropriate to report the incident to police.
Oh, 2 days.
2 days.
Wait. He didn't realize it was a toy gun. Those real guns are heavy.
Well, it was a pistol-like object, and a lot of toys, you gotta admit, can be rather realistic. Now,
Oh, yeah, but
well,
still, they're heavy.
so can toy guns. I mean, I picked up a few that are shockingly similar to ones I've used. And I fired guns on a range. it was a scary prospect, and I'm glad that everybody's okay. The boy, for his part, says that he wasn't aware the gun was real. Which you got to admit is entirely possible. He may have picked.
Where did he get it, though?
I doubt they're going to say, just out of protection for the child.
Mm.
And the school is refusing to comment at all. This happened out in Fukuoka Prefecture. So
this is why I don't read the news, because give me tantalizing half stories.
Well, apparently there's been a few interesting objects recovered at schools, and I don't know if some of this is airsoft, but I see pistols with rounds, I see semi-autos with rounds, and I see what appears to be a bazooka. A Russian bazooka.
How does someone bring that to school?
I don't know. There's an entire contingent in Japan that are hobby enthusiasts about military hardware. Mm-hmm. They can tell you more than the NRA could about armaments. So some of this could be replica, but I don't know how much of this is functional. So, hey, nobody got shot. And did you guys hear about the Pizza Hut manager who was fired?
No.
I don't think so.
He refused to open for Thanksgiving.
Oh.
The owner was upset because he refused, as he put it, that a lot of Pizza Hut employees, the only regular days they get off are Thanksgiving Day and Christmas Day. Every other day they're expected to be open, and he wanted to spend time with the family, so he refused to open for the manager, so Pizza Hut, or the owner, I should say, so Pizza Hut fired him. The fact that this went out in the news did not go over well for Pizza Hut. A lot of people swore off the company. Pizza Hut, as of November 28th, put out a statement. Quote, as a follow-up to the situation in Elkhart, Indiana, we feel strongly that the situation involving our independent franchise and the local store manager could and should have been avoided. We fully respect an employee's right not to work on a holiday, which is why the vast majority of Pizza Huts in America are closed on Thanksgiving. As a result, we strongly recommend that the local franchise reinstate the store manager, and they have agreed. We look forward to them welcoming Tony back to the team, unquote. My response is you can go ahead and fuck both the owner and the franchise, frankly.
Well, honestly, I don't know what the franchise did wrong. I don't know that it was Pizza Hut that fired him. I mean, you can say Pizza Hut fired him, but I have a feeling that was mostly due to the individual owner's, prerogative.
Apparently, the manager, after he was fired, did appeal to Pizza Hut, who backed up the owner.
Okay.
It's apparent.
But here's the thing. I mean, Pizza Hut has no ability to reinstate him unless they were going to stick him at a different store, and they'd still have to talk to the owner of that store.
Yeah, I don't agree with the policy of leaving it up to the individual franchisees, though. That can lead to a lot of mixed messages from place to place.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's a franchise. You don't have complete rights over your own product. These people buy the right to use your stuff. They have paid money for it, so they should get a say.
Yeah, well, I guess another part of the problem was that the franchisee, when they had the problem with this manager not forcing people to work on Thanksgiving, they told him to tender his resignation. They wanted him to resign instead of get any form of unemployment benefits.
Yeah, I'm glad he stuck to his guns there. Yeah,
they had to fire him, and he wrote a very long letter. And he wrote it to, I guess, a local news station that picked up on it. And Justin Bieber is getting himself into a lot of issues lately.
Noticed.
Okay, did you notice that his sales in his Australian tour, some of the shows were only about half full?
Don't know, don't care.
Well, you may, because some of that may have to do with his reputation. You know that Justin Bieber's bread and butter is basically gullible teenage girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Regarding his purity and his social ability, more or less.
How many of them are pregnant?
Social inability?
Well, none of them are pregnant because he didn't sleep with any fans. He slept with 2 prostitutes. There are prostitutes in both Colombia and Panama. Well, in Panama, there was a video taken. The lady that spent the night with him took a video of him sleeping, then of herself, and sent it to a friend who sent it to local media outlets. They've confirmed that the lady that slept with him is a prostitute, said that he's rather sexually gifted and well-endowed, and she's also an adult movie star. So I can't think of a better way to ruin your reputation with young girls than to sleep with skanks. But the one in Colombia was even better because Bieber's people claimed that he wasn't there. At first, because all they got was a picture of somebody walking out of a known brothel in a white sheet, which also happened to have the same custom sneakers that Justin Bieber wears everywhere. Go fig. But then they retracted and said that he was there, but he was there meeting a fan. He was at a whorehouse meeting a fan.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And there was a woman who worked at the whorehouse that confirmed that Bieber took herself and several women for his entourage back to his hotel room. She reported that he is not well endowed and wasn't that good at what he did.
Everyone's a critic.
Yeah. So not only is he a dick, he's very bad at being a dick, apparently.
I don't know. I mean, to give the devil his due, he's got, a 50-50 reputation right now.
Well, it's more like 33, because Australia does not want him back. He was staying at a hotel, and he wanted to... He's been known to graffiti lately. Apparently that's his thing as of late. He has to paint a wall in a building, and so they gave him a wall. He decided to paint on several other walls that he wasn't allowed to, and left.
Dumbass.
So the mayor of Gold Coast is furious. His name is Tom Tate, and he wants this kid to come back here and clean it up and issue an apology. That's what he wants.
Sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I doubt the prick will do it.
Probably
I
not
have
happen.
absolutely no confidence that he will even...
I mean, this is a kid who somehow got his hands on a tattoo gun and tattooed Swaggy the Mouse on a friend.
Wow.
I'm not making that up. If I had a Justin Bieber tattoo, I think I would take a knife to my arm.
I don't even know any of this kid's music, and I'm so glad I don't.
There's not much to know. He's like most people bereft of a lot of talent and tends to abuse lyricists and everything. Repeats the same word like 8 times. Nothing to really talk about. Did you guys hear about a student who set a teacher on fire?
No.
This is big on my what the fuck list, and it's another reason why I'm never going to Tennessee. A high school's teacher was set on fire by a student. She's 23. Her name is Gabriela Penalba. She turned her back to her class on Monday, ignoring, she was working in the morning at West High School in Knoxville, Tennessee, and a 15-year-old male student set her shirt and hair ablaze using a lighter.
Oh.
Now, thankfully, other students put the fire out. But this particular student who set her on fire exploited the commotion by throwing the lighter out the window and fleeing before police came to get him. They got him later.
Do they have the lighter?
I doubt they need the lighter because it sounds like they have multiple witness statements.
Yeah. True.
Why this kid threw out the lighter, it doesn't help. I mean, he was there in the classroom, and you would have to count on every person actually reading a book instead of watching you go up to the class unannounced and light the teacher on fire.
Right.
But thankfully, the students were so quick they helped her avoid any serious burns.
That's very good.
The kid's name has not been released because he's a minor. You don't need to release his name. Just set the kid on fire. I'm sorry, but somebody like that needs to learn what that's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also in What the Fuck News, it has to be a teenager. Somebody spray-painted a shuttle replica in Houston.
Huh?
There's a full-size replica of a shuttle in a museum in Houston, Texas, and people spray-painted racial and political graffiti all over it. Or at least the back side of it, the side that isn't normally viewed by people walking by. But it can be seen by the highway.
That's just uncool.
Part of it says, Houston, we are the problem. No niggers in space.
Wow.
What kind of short-minded assholes are in that state?
I don't know.
Well, the day it was discovered by a bus driver who called it in, and thankfully they were able to remove it or paint over it the same day. Still, though, there's no fucking point to this whatsoever.
Just...
People being dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys remember the Facebook mom who posted a picture of herself and her abs after having 3 kids and put it on top of the picture? What's her excuse?
Really, yeah.
Yeah, she was temporarily banned from Facebook.
For what?
What?
She wrote a post complaining about the media coverage of an online group that encourages plus-size women to post photos of themselves in lingerie to show what quote-unquote real women look like. Basically, the fitness mom, she's arguing against that. She's arguing that no matter how many kids or what your issues are, you can get into shape, which is a relatively normal and admirable statement, in my opinion. Because she has a point. We can all work on ourselves.
Yeah.
But so many people complained about her piece that Facebook banned her post and banned her account. Now, they unbanned it because they determined that they were being unfair after there was a backlash about her, the fitness mom being banned. And I gotta agree, because there's points on both sides here. You know, plus-size women can feel comfortable about themselves, but if you have some issues about body image, don't spend time tearing other people down. Build yourself up.
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing on it. Basically, my problem with it is the fact that they said this is what real women look like.
Yeah.
But that's not. There are plenty
Because
of
real women, that right there, that's
Yeah, but
that's not a
I am a
factual
real
statement.
woman,
Real
and
women
I'm-
can be extremely skinny. They can be extremely overweight. They can
Yeah.
be anywhere in between.
Yeah.
So just saying, oh, all fat people are real women now, or overweight women are real women now, and these skinny people are not. That's just the
that's
completely wrong
discrimination
way.
of another.
Yeah.
And don't mistake me. I'm not sitting here as a skinny person. I'm heavy. I lost some weight. I'm unfortunately, I've gotten a new job and I'm way off schedule. I'm feeling uncomfortable in my own skin. But this lady does have a point when she says that this group is normalizing obesity, and that's not good. She's right. We have so many health issues in this country based on the fact that we are trying to normalize the idea that overweight people are absolutely normal, when we know that that is a very harmful thing to be. Now, whether or not you choose to stay that's your business, but we really shouldn't forward the idea that only fat women or overweight women are the normal in this country. We need to get back to the idea that the normal women, they don't have to be ripped, but we all should not have to shop at specialty stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a thinnish person. Well, I'm mostly.
We've seen the picture, V. You've got nothing to complain about.
I'm trying to say I'm not a stick.
Yeah. Now, V, your figure is what I would consider to be a relatively normal girl. You're not ripped muscle, but you're a nice dainty size.
Yeah. But I still have trouble finding things that fit me correctly.
Yeah, well, I have a 42-inch waist. I have trouble no matter where I go because, other large people, you generally get to stores before I do. But at the same time, I'm not sitting there going, fucking skinnies and your size 10s, or you guys that have size 30 waist. I look at that and go, I should get myself a size 30 waist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I may be thin, but I still think I need improvement. I mean,
it's just
I need to tone up.
Yeah, we've discussed people just need to have enough self-esteem to stop hating on other people for being skinny and just put in the work to be skinny.
Yeah, if that's what they want to do. If they want to be overweight, then you know what? I'm not going to say anything to you. I'm overweight. I know I'm lazy. I know I could do something better. But you know what? That's my choice as of right now. But again, I'm the same way. I'm not going, oh, you damn skinny people.
Right.
Although Jared and Jameis have annoyed me from time to time.
Well, it's all the same point. Stop tearing other people down. Just build yourself up. Do you guys remember a few weeks ago we discussed how there was a JK or a high school girls, kind of escort club that was busted in Japan recently?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, turns out that a lot of those girls who were in that business kind of rededicated themselves to a JK photography club where you could buy time to photograph, high school age girls in various outfits or poses and things. Police have already busted one of those. The Tokyo police arrested the 33-year-old manager of Suinteru, translated to Twin Tail, a JK photography event, which took place regularly in an Ikebukuro apartment. Patrons would pay 10,000 yen, or approximately $100, to join a schoolgirl for one-on-one photography in a curtained section, with the girl obligingly posing in a swimsuit. Yeah, police have already busted this. You guys they either need to get more definitive laws to define what you can and can't do with girls, or they need to stop just randomly deciding which people they're going to bust in attempts to get bribes and get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't feel that that's appropriate. But at the same time, I don't know what laws exactly they're breaking.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not something I want to do. It's not something I think should be done. But at the same time, if you don't have direct laws stopping it, then you need to cut this out. Because they're trying to bust them under the idea of child labor laws and making minors work in a dangerous environment.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's also the fact that, okay, you're punishing the people paying the money.
Yeah.
You are doing nothing to address the fact that these girls are apparently I have no idea if they're being forced somehow or something. But,
I seriously doubt it.
But again, but these girls are contributing to it, and yet there's no repercussions. I mean, it's the same thing as the girls that like selling their panties and or actually literally going almost into prostitution. And you punish the Johns, but you don't punish the person. And it's like
Some fans have pointed out properly that it's not fair that idol groups who have girls of the same age will take these events where you're supposed to go and actually shake their hands or hug them, and yet doing something where you can photograph girls who are not in these idol groups and not touching them is somehow illegal. There is a comparison to be drawn. But, it's just effed up beyond belief. And, speaking of fucked up, Delta bumped an entire flight to accommodate a basketball team.
Yep. Saw that.
Can you believe this? Gainesville Regional Airport, a Delta flight, number 5059, took every passenger off the plane so that the Florida State basketball team can board and take the flight to Atlanta. Now, there is something to be said here because the team had originally chartered a private flight, which broke down. But I don't think the response should be to take other paying people and take them off the plane so these guys can get it.
I mean, I could see it as long as you're willing to do the same for the people that you just displaced.
Those people should get chartered. If the team is not willing to wait for a new chartered flight to come in, maybe you should charter flights for the people you bumped. Or
just either refund their money, refund part of their money, at least put them up in some place while they're waiting.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure there's all kinds of circumstances that they were having to deal with.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
To such and such place.
Well, according to one statement, they wanted to emphasize that this was done without the team's knowledge. I don't know about that because I've seen people that are bumped from a flight, and generally you will get a lot of stink face from those people who are walking in on the seat you were supposed to get.
Depends on if they had them change places, teams walking in while other people walking out. If they just...
No, not walking out. I mean those people that are sitting in the, they're sitting in the waiting area. They were probably taken off and had to sit there while they wait for other flights to be arranged.
Yeah, well, even still, unless somebody, directly came up and said, blah, 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 then, okay, there's people looking at you weird in an airport. Okay.
Why are they looking at me weird?
Yeah. I could see the manager probably being informed, but if he didn't tell his, team, then, I could see them being oblivious.
Well, that would make me wonder what kind of idiots you have at Florida University.
Yeah. I don't know. If I was just walking through an airport as part of a team and I see people looking at me funny, maybe they don't like sports people. Maybe they have an issue with, some of my team members. I don't know. I don't think it's too implausible to think that, they had no idea.
I would find it harder to believe myself. Got a few more stories here. You guys know the term swatting, right?
In what context?
It's when people will call in a false threat or event happening at a celebrity's home, and it forces SWAT personnel to show up. We have a similar case that actually happened to an internet streamer. There's a Twitch TV live streamer who does a lot of Warcraft videos, like live playing the game, and he uses a green screen so you can actually see him playing in the corner. His name is Swifty, or at least his handle is. And somebody decided that they didn't like the video, so they called police to his home. They claimed that somebody there was on video threatening someone with a knife.
Oh, wrong.
So
I don't think they want the wrong thing.
Yeah, there's actually video of the guy who turns off the green screen, moves his computer camera, and shows the policeman, look, this is what we're doing, and here's the cop that showed up. So, at least this one has a happier ending than most swatting cases, because it was obviously somebody who was watching his Twitch feed and just thinking, I'm going to get this guy arrested on live camera. That means that he has a list of all the IP addresses of people that logged in.
Yep.
And by the time he was done with his show, he said that the person that called the police is already in a lot of trouble.
Ooh.
But Swifty had a sense of humor because, he said that every restaurant within 10 miles from us has us blacklisted for some reason, so we ordered pizza. He actually offered the cops a couple slices. The cop who was apparently off mic actually could be heard saying, "Nah, we're good, brother. Appreciate it. Have a good one."
That's cool.
Yeah. So, whoever called that cop, hope he's gang raped. Sorry, but you need
Most of those,
obviously somebody needs a reality check and a life lesson.
The person will do that.
Yep. And, McDonald's, I will never shop there again because we discussed what they're doing to their employees, and it's horrible.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Not just the pay, but the concept of what they think they should be doing to make the ends meet. Not doing it anymore. Well, one McDonald's was surprisingly generous because somebody ordered off the value menu. The guy was Greg Terry with his wife Stacy. Got home, they opened up, they found their cheap burgers and a bag of cash.
Yeah, I saw
that.
Yeah, thousands of dollars in a clear plastic bag. Obviously, the nice deposits somehow ended up in their order. The people were nice enough to actually drive it back to the restaurant and give it back. Now, I know a lot of people are listening to this and just saying, well, McDonald's gives you free money. Screw them. They're mean to people. The unfortunate reality is, though, somebody accidentally put that bag in there, and that would have been someone's job, somebody's low-paying job.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it could potentially have been some sort of...
Yeah, it could, technically it's like robbery or accepting stolen property. But at the same time, though, I realize the job doesn't pay much and the person probably is in a lot of trouble anyway, but at least this way, whoever it is has a serious chance of keeping their work during the holidays.
Yeah. I know it happened at the Taco Bell store that I worked at. Somebody accidentally put the deposit bag in a bag in one of the store bags, and the person expediting the orders mistakenly grabbed that, and the person ended up bringing it back. Nobody lost their job.
Yeah, and I can understand how that would happen, because I imagine managers would not like the idea of walking out of the back of this place with a clear plastic bag or one of those zip-up locking bags, because you know what that is and where they're going. But if they walk out with a McDonald's bag in their hand, they're less likely to be accosted. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense. It was probably somebody who put it up there, and it's like Steve said, somebody was in a hurry, tossed food in an open bag, and then handed it off. So, I'm just glad everything worked out. Still, that belongs in What the Fuck News simply because that's got to be one of those cases where, okay, you got my double? No? Where's my double? Oh god, that's a quadruple. What is that?
That's some funny looking letter.
But it's the kind I want. Hand it over, man. We've also discussed before how Shanghai and China has some of the most fucked up pollution on Earth. Some people would say the free market can run itself. I think we see here what a free market can do to its populace. They have had another smog alert and closed schools due to pollution. They've even suspended outdoor activities in at least 2 cities in eastern China, where residents are complaining of yellow skies and foul smells that are symptomatic of the country's smog crisis.
So do they not have safety/environmental regulations on factories?
Almost none, from what I understand. As long as the companies are bringing in a decent amount of money, they won't be touched. Only recently, similar to Japan and its Fukuoka problem, only recently has someone in China actually said, maybe we need to address this.
That makes me angry.
China does not allow a lot of Western-style internet browsers or internet properties, but they have their own Twitter-like app called Weibo, and Chinese people were on it in droves, apparently complaining, including quotes like, "The sky is pale yellow and the air is full of a choking smell."
That's no good.
Supposedly visibility was so thick that visibility was so bad, the smog reduced it to 33 feet.
Jeez. Wow.
The sun was the color of a salted egg yolk on Wednesday.
Specifically? Oh, okay.
That's the color. They could look at the sun through the smog without burning their eyes, and it looked like a pale yellow.
Wow.
The city apparently saw levels of 2.5 parts per million, or 2.5 micrometers, which is well above what would be considered healthy. Levels of 300 are considered hazardous.
Oof.
So this is just disgusting.
Well, we could use that as an example to forever.
Yeah, but the problem is that some maps show the prevailing air. You know how smoggy cities can be in California, right?
Yeah.
They show that a large percentage of that may actually be coming from the Pacific area.
Oh. China.
The stuff in Bakersfield or San Francisco down to Bakersfield, as much as 10 to 15% of that could just be Chinese smog that blew over.
It's no good.
Yeah. So this is our problem. And the final bit of what the fuck news I have this week is a serious what the fuck, because Japanese police have arrested a woman for calling them. She called the police, so they arrested her.
Okay.
Why?
Because she called 15,000 times over 6 months.
Oh. All right,
About
well,
what?
That makes more sense.
They don't quite understand. She's 44 years old. She made as many as 927 emergency calls in a day. Now, they've ruled out mental illness, and the calls don't really have a meaning. She didn't make up a story that required them to respond. It was just the fact that she kept calling. They visited her about 60 times prior to arresting her, just trying to persuade her not to call.
Interesting.
Yeah, she literally would call about nothing. She's currently facing charges of obstructing with police and creating a fraud, which may carry up to 3 years in prison or a fine of 500,000 yen, the equivalent of about $5,000. But she would literally call about nothing. I don't know if she was lonely or something, but she just kept calling the cops.
Did she even, what did she say?
She apparently didn't even have a fake problem. She called up with just discussions about nothing.
That's
Much like our show,
enough
but,
to
you
me.
know, she, I don't know what her deal was, and apparently they don't either. She just kept calling.
That's a special kind of bizarre.
More or less, yeah.
I don't understand how they can rule out mental illness. That
I don't know. I mean, they have more patience than I would, because I'm not sure I'd arrest her. I think I'd just show up, tase her, and walk away. You know, she's not technically breaking a whole lot of laws other than the disruption. I mean, I don't know if I'd want her in jail for 3 years for that, so maybe it'd just be a life lesson, you know. Stop calling. Thank you.
Maybe she wanted to get arrested.
Something happened. I don't know if this is some kind of bizarre Munchausen syndrome or something, but something weird happened. I don't know. But we've finally gone through all the news.
Finally! How long?
Like, I have a fucking timer.
It's 2:13 now.
Thank you.
30 fucking hours.
Shut up. Like you had anywhere else to be.
My bed.
Like you had anywhere else to be. You know, Rosie Palm is not waiting for you. We're going to discuss the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's been rebooted. Well, I don't know about rebooted, but definitely tweaked recently. It's a story of a bunch of basically renegades in space who have teamed up to try and stop what they consider to be injustices, which include an assassin, a life avatar with an affinity for knives, a genetically and mechanically manipulated raccoon, a living tree, and a guy who hasn't seen Earth since the 80s. Some people who have been following the movie production describe this as Marvel's answer to Star Wars, and I don't know about that because it seems to me that every character of the Guardians of the Galaxy would fit into Obi-Wan Kenobi's quote.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah, none of these guys are nice.
Not a one, really. Even their leader, who's a prince from a kingdom, he's
Kind of a dick.
more than kind of. You know, each one doesn't necessarily have the nicest thing to say about each other. They respect each other, but they're not pals, I would say. With the exception of the raccoon.
Colleagues.
Yeah, with the exception of the raccoon in the tree, which kind of fits. I just hope he doesn't burrow into his stomach and start, you know, forming a nest.
Could be awkward.
I am Groot. No, I will not get out. I am Groot! And I will not clean that up.
Yeah, now I finally understand what the hell you guys were talking about with the I Am Groot references.
It does take some explaining, and even then it does fail in an auditory sense. I mean, we read 5 issues, which was basically edged right up to the Guardians' involvement from the relaunch into the beginning of Infinity, I would say. What do you think of their grasp on the characters? Because all of them seem to have a lot of similar traits, but minor tweaks.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not really familiar with any of the characters.
Which is arguably
I've
a good
never
thing.
Read this particular book before.
Yeah.
You know, I know them from, you know, being mentioned in other books. I liked the overall group dynamic, and each of the characters was, not exactly unique, but at least individualized enough that, it wasn't like, oh, well, who's this guy? Who's that person?
Yeah, I can agree with that. Definitely all 5 of the core characters they're not original characters per se. They are all definitely archetypes that we've seen before in various books and movies, but they are turned up to a very high degree. They're all characters taken to an extreme of one sort or another. Star-Lord is your roguish. If there was a direct correlation to Han Solo, I would say this version of Star-Lord is it.
Yeah.
He's well-spoken and everything, but he's definitely one of those shoot-first individuals, and he will not take anyone's crap to save his life, even if it means saving his life. Gamora, your near-mute assassin, frankly. The woman warrior who could kill somebody with a gaze and probably has at one point or another. If you got a gun bunny on the team, that's definitely the raccoon. He seems like a short version of Jane from Firefly in a lot of respects. And only slightly more mouthy. Groot's the powerhouse, and as fun as he is, he's a little hard to understand for obvious reasons.
Chewbacca.
Yeah, and then you have Drax. So if you've ever seen a movie that has that silent knife-wielding guy, you've seen Drax.
He kind of reminds me of a green space-going version of Conan.
That's a good way to put it, except Conan was not as verbose as Drax is.
No.
Drax is surprisingly well-spoken for this type of character. I think the biggest great example of him was the 3rd issue. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to recall.
He was interrogating somebody and nobody knew where he was.
Oh, yeah.
And he asked this guy
Now I know what you look like when you lie.
Yeah, he was asking somebody who's bleeding in a chair, are you afraid of me? No, I'm not afraid of you. Good. Now Drax knows what it looks like when you lie. The whole time he's thumbing a knife blade. I mean, I admit that would be one of those points where I need an extra pair of shorts. But I mean, beginning in the first issue, they did kind of start this whole thing off with a bang. Starting with Star-Lord encountering his father, the Emperor of Spartax.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Star-Lord, I don't know if you would have caught it because it was kind of in a point 1 issue, but he does have some father abandonment issues. He's half human, half Spartax. His father crash-landed on Earth a long time ago and had a couple nights with his mother, and Jason was born years later and never actually seen him until he took off into space on his own because his mother was killed by a couple people looking to kill the prince. I think he was about 10 by the time he was on his own. All he had was a pistol and a little bit of information about who his dad was. Somehow he managed to get out into space. So he does have a pretty big chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, that was evident.
Yeah. Well, there is something to be said that when your father's an emperor and he can't protect one woman on Earth.
Yeah. Well, and apparently didn't even
or doesn't try.
Feel enough for her to try, and now is trying to thrust the, oh, well, you're a prince thing onto him, and he's just like, yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you're the Emperor of Space. You could have dispatched at least a detailed watcher. Didn't care. It's obviously a patriarchy because he cares a lot for his son. Males in this society seem to be the prize. But at the same time, he wants this kid he's barely seen to act like a prince. What the hell does he know about being a prince?
Right? I don't understand why he'd want this kid. Well, I guess the whole patrilineal thing.
Yeah. But somehow in his... It seems like...
Did he get another son?
I guess it would only take a couple nights, yeah. Now, this is kind of a very interesting version of Star-Lord because it's not like any of the previous versions. Star-Lord's been in the Marvel Universe for a little while. I think he's a character back from the 70s that was originally just a regular human who was captured by aliens, experimented on, and was half a cyborg. The whole thing with the pistol is not new, but this version of him I'd not seen before, so that made it really interesting when they mentioned that he was in the Cancerverse. That was the previous version of Star-Lord I know about from that series. I read that. Stuck with Thanos, and how Star-Lord made it out and Nova didn't, I'm very curious. This is the Richard Rider Nova, the one with the entirety of the Nova Force in him. So there's a story here I would really like to know, but I am gratified to see where this one is heading. The kind of chance encounter with Iron Man seemed a little forced.
A
Yeah.
little bit, yeah. It's like, why are you out here? You called me.
Yeah, and I don't remember that call.
Exactly. It seemed like he was totally just trying to escape the Avengers.
Yeah, he was supposed to be taking some sort of vacation and getting a bigger worldview after the Mandarin was killed in the Iron Man series. So I don't remember a direct I remember him taking off into space. I don't remember Star-Lord saying, "Hey, you want to hang out?" I don't know where to put that. All I can guess is they wanted somebody to stick in the Guardians of the Galaxy to gain more interest from general readers, and Iron Man would arguably be it. You know, he's one of the few characters in Marvel that people who don't read comics can see on a cover and go, "What's he doing there?"
Yeah.
What about Thor?
That might be a little harder to explain, frankly.
Well, and then of course also going by how they had the All-Mother there, she might have been even more
That's
antagonistic
true, yeah.
had Thor been involved.
Yeah, but I mean, the first enemy they come across is the Badoon, who's they've been an enemy of the Guardians all the way back to their original incarnation back in the 80s. That was a completely different team than this. That involved a bunch of ragtags, and that series didn't go well in many incarnations until they started using the Raccoon and Gamora and Star-Lord, which was about
badasses, basically.
Yeah, which was about 4 years ago, I'd say. I actually missed the previous version of this with Dan Abnett. I loved that series. Still not sure why it ended, but it was in that series that they came across the character they were referring to, the talking dog. When the Guardians were captured by the Spartans, or the Spartax, they mentioned that there was a talking dog that was hanging out with them.
Right.
A lot of people would assume they were talking about the Raccoon. No, they're talking about Cosmo, who was a telepathic dog, a dog from Earth that was used in a cosmonaut experiment. Also captured by aliens, but they experimented on him and just kind of upped his telepathy so they could communicate with him. He and the Raccoon did not get along well.
I would imagine so.
No, there was a lot of antagonism there, and neither of them were quite sure why they hated each other. They just knew they did.
Instinct's still in play.
Yeah. But, yeah, the first issue was basically a gigantic space battle which took place in space suits, which is really interesting considering there were ships available, but they just kind of spent a lot of time blowing stuff up.
That's what they're good at.
Yeah. But the involvement of Earth in this first few issues was also, I don't know about force. I see the story building there, but it seemed like it was built up and then all of a sudden, not abandoned, but just pushed wayside.
It was very disconcerting.
Yeah. I know they had an idea, I just don't know where they were going with it.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I mean, I feel like I'm just yammering.
No, I'm not really familiar with the other books, so I don't know what kind of plots they might have built up. So yeah, I'm just kind of taking the story in as I go along.
Okay, well, let me say that the previous version of Guardians, the Dan Abnett version, the Guardians, their premise was basically to guard time and space, which was fracturing back at that time.
Okay.
So
well,
they were
it definitely seems to be heading that way again.
Yeah, they were cosmic heroes, but this one seems much more Earth-centric. Mm-hmm. But that probably has to do with the storyline of Infinity, where people are coming to destroy the Earth simply because they keep breaking time and space.
Yes.
You know, and this was, if you remember, this was directly after Age of Ultron when Wolverine, really fractured it.
Yeah.
Wait, how did Wolverine fracture time and space?
Ultron
killed himself.
No, Ultron took over the planet. Several heroes went to the future to try and stop him. Wolverine took the Invisible Woman and decided the best way to kill Ultron was to kill Hank Pym, the guy who created Ultron. Cut out his neck. They went back to the present. It was more effed up than if Ultron was in charge. So they went back to the past again. Wolverine talked himself out of killing Hank Pym and then killed his past self.
And then took his past self's place?
Yeah, and then went back to the present, which was fixed, but that's when time and space suddenly said, okay, enough monkeying around, I don't feel so well.
Well, yeah, because now Wolverine is,
Yeah, whenever Wolverine shakes hands with you, you have a chance of coming away with a few less fingers. But, yeah, as with most things that are wrong with Marvel, just blame Wolverine.
Not Beast?
No, he was... I think he lost an eye or something. I don't know. Maybe he was busy scratching his butt with his feet. But this whole thing leads to the Badoon apparently invading Earth. And I gotta wonder, in the Marvel Universe, I think it's similar to like Gotham City and Metropolis. I don't think there's any large place I would want to live in Marvel.
Yeah, you want to live out in the country.
Yeah, I mean, what's the light things that happen down there? The Rhino just ran through another building. I mean, the country would definitely seem like the safer place to be. At least then you just see idiots flying over. They rarely stop out in the cornfield to fight.
Right.
But the one thing that Guardians does have that is rarely in comics is kind of all the emperors of the different interstellar empires getting together for a summit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
Yeah, that's something that comic books has never really done well, is politics. Which is arguably part of life, because politicians are the ones who make the bills that make all of our lives harder or better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this was definitely the type you wouldn't see when all these people who technically have enough power to, I guess you could say, destroy the Earth if the Avengers weren't there. But all these people that have a pants-crapping amount of ability to just create havoc in their lives have actually gotten together to talk something. I was a little put off during the fight over London when Star-Lord asked if there were any British X-Men, and Iron Man responds with, "There is a Captain Britain. Is he any good?" Not really.
Not really.
He was an Avenger, for fuck's sake! You know, let alone he's kind of like Superman made of magic. Would you say that's a good description?
I can't say.
I guess.
He's the king of the multiverse.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, you don't get to rule over all of the multiverse without having something going on.
Well, that might have been just Iron Man's opinion, or maybe he just didn't like the guy.
Bad writing, maybe?
Could be. Believable.
But, I guess long story short, the fight didn't go well for the Guardians, who got themselves entirely captured. Which is, I don't know if it's a rare feat, but it definitely occurred.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did think it was rather interesting how they were peeling Iron Man out of the armor. You know, his systems are just failing one-on-one as they're ripping this thing apart, trying to get at the chewy middle.
Yeah, I honestly, the thing that I was... I mean, the fact that, you know, they had this summit, they made the rule, you know, nobody's on Earth and everything. He goes over, he tells his son, stay off of Earth. All of that was, you know, okay, you could say that the guy's trying to set him up, but at the same time, you know, whatever. But then, when they actually arrest everybody, they arrest Iron Man as well. That's what I found amusing. I was like, okay, so this guy's from Earth. He obviously belongs there. But you're going to take him into custody and arrest him for being on Earth when he's from Earth.
Well, he was trying to fly away with 2 of the Guardians at the time.
Yeah, but even still...
Well, that's
obviously not cool.
Well, it is similar to our own laws regarding aiding and abetting. But, you know...
Guilty of association?
Yeah, but it is also interesting that the Badoon were the ones who defeated them, but they handed them over directly to the Spartax Empire. I mean, it's obvious who's working for who in that case.
Well, no, the Spartax showed up. They'd killed all the Badoon.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then the Spartax showed up and said, you're under arrest.
Yeah.
Conveniently, right after they had finished saving the Earth.
I know. I just like that, though, when they finally peel off the last part of armor, you know, the Spartax are telling him, we dismantled your traps and negated your energy source, Earther. Do you have anything else to declare? Roller skates. Prepare his stasis tube.
I didn't... Was that supposed to mean something, or was he just being random?
Yeah, he's just being a dick.
Being random.
Tony Stark being Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure.
I do like some of the sideways conversations that Bendis had written into this series. You know, they don't have universal translators? How do they get on? I told you they're like Blanars. Yeah, they really are.
Their word for fuck is kind of cumbersome.
Well, which one was that?
Clutarch or so. I don't remember. It started with a K and had 2 syllables.
I have a feeling that word is kind of like Smurf.
No, I think
just use it interchangeably because they seem to.
Oh, maybe it's one of those things where they don't want something easily repeatable, you know, like Frack from Battlestar Galactica. Everyone knows what you're talking about. Let's make something they can't pronounce. You know, I did like the discussions when the Spartax were going through the weapons that the Guardians had.
Yeah.
You know, I like that. In being the only one of your kind, I can't imagine anything more lonely or sad than that. He says while he's holding up Drax's axe. Yeah, but that they found each other. To be lowly space pirates? You know, another one picks up the staff. This belongs to the female, Thanos' daughter. I saw it in her, actually. I wonder if Thanos knows where she is. You wonder if he'll come looking for her? Yes, that's entirely what I mean.
And meanwhile, they're not noticing the sprout growing into a tree.
Yeah, the plant coming up.
Oh, I didn't notice that either.
Yeah. everyone forgot in the first issue Groot was blown up and Rocket saved a cutting so that he could replant it and regrow it. But I mean, even during the story, they were talking about the previous version of the Guardians when they're talking about some of the things missing. Is this all of them? Yes. Did they not travel with a Calicanian? I don't recall. And yes, a dog that spoke. A dog? What's a dog? During these conversations, when the tree comes busting through the door.
Yeah, I do find it amusing they refer to the tree as a dog.
Oh, I don't think they were referring to that. I think they're referring to Cosmo from the previous series.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah. Because, before Star-Lord was stuck in the Cancerverse, he was leading another group of Guardians. That involved Mantis, Cosmo, Moondragon, and a couple others. Mm. But, V saw the inference where Groot is talking to himself in the phrase that all anyone hears is "I am Groot" as he's trying to figure out the computer and then nearly cuts off their life support in the stasis tubes. Then he just gets fed up, smashes open the tubes, and all he says is, "I am Groot?" Star-Lord stands up and says, "Yes, yes you are."
One thing I noticed that aggravated me, though, is I noticed at least 2 blatant grammar errors.
What do you mean?
I did notice that, but I was assuming that was to reflect either their peculiar way of speaking or translator errors.
Well, the one I was thinking was, I think it was in the first issue, the lady says something, she says "your," but she spells it's spelled with an apostrophe R-E, not...
Oh, okay.
Oh.
It's like, really? Your QA missed that?
It's possible. I mean, when you do enough series, I don't think I think they probably have editors working multiple books.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not trying to excuse it, but they probably just missed it. When you said grammatical errors, I thought you were talking about syntax stuff. I didn't think you were talking about actual, written grammar. Or dialogue, I should say.
I do QA. It's kind of my thing.
Okay. I'm just asking.
I see all the errors.
All right. See, I took speed reading, against my will. So unfortunately, a lot of that I can gloss over just reading the meaning of words and moving on. I think Gamora is one of those characters that's right up V's alley. I could see her dressing up as that.
Yeah.
Because this bitch is hardcore.
The green might be hard to pull off.
A bodysuit and a little bit of face makeup and you're done.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I love the conversation as they're getting out of the tubes. Rocket's picking up his gun. They must have a new kind of neuroblaster. I don't even remember being hit. I do. I need Spartak's blood in return. That's about as plain of a sentiment as you can get. And the fact that instead of getting back to their ship, which is probably turned into a rust bucket after being stripped, they stole this battle cruiser.
Yeah, new ship, new toys. And Tony Stark's roughing it.
And I did like in the end of issue 3 how they had a variation on the whole taking the bridge. When they open the door and a lot of people tend to shoot out and then there's that weird pause as they're trying to figure out if they hit anything through the holes. Suddenly 3 of them with rifles poke out and all Rocket says is, "Our turn!" Shoot, and they're dead.
And I liked the raccoons, murdered you.
Well, I especially like when they took the bridge, they took their shot, everybody in the white armor died, and the guy that looks like a commander from the Empire in Star Wars just lifts his hands.
Yeah.
I give up.
I did also like the whole thing where Iron Man's just complaining about his armor and Raccoon's like, "Well, did they break your man parts too?" No. Well, then here, point this at anybody but us and shoot.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, I really like how the dialogue is written among the Guardians proper, minus Iron Man, because they are what I imagine would be closer to space pirates, because you gotta admit, a lot of sci-fi, either written or visual, a lot of the time you have this definitive hierarchy. The guy in charge speaks a lot like Captain Picard from, the Enterprise. In this case, when they've taken over the ship, Star-Lord looks at the raccoon and says, "Hey, Rocket, do that thing where every ship in the Spartak's fleet can get our signal whether they like it or not." And the raccoon just looks up and says, "Oh, I can do that," and action!
Yeah, I think the raccoon's my favorite character.
He has a tendency to be everyone's favorite character.
Yeah, it's because it's funny and kind of scary to see this 2-foot thing that's carrying a Gatling gun and can threaten you with a knife.
Well, besides Iron Man, but, of the... Yes.
But then they delivered their own political message about, how fair is it that you have to follow an emperor who can't protect his own people and doesn't care about his own prince. This is kind of a valid point, except when you consider you are space scum. And then there's the celebration, and Iron Man talked Gamora into getting between the sheets.
Yeah, that's happened pretty quickly, apparently.
It's Tony Stark. He could do it.
Well, I don't know if it was all him, though, because Gamora definitely seemed to treat it like an evening's exercise or entertainment. It's done and it's gone.
Just a conquest of hers.
Yeah, well, it's not like a lot of things which is usually written in Tony Stark's Conquest where they kind of crawl all over him and ask about the next night and he gets to walk away. Instead, she walked away and he looked to be in physical pain.
I love how he made that whole Star Trek reference in there about, sleeping on the
Yes!
green. Yeah.
That was great.
It's like, check.
Yeah.
Done.
One thing off my bucket list.
Yeah. And I especially liked how they had the typical bar scene where a bunch of soldiers come in, they recognize the Guardians who are trying to be, they're trying to play it down and not make any noise. Suddenly one of the guards recognizes and says, "It's them!" And all Drax does is toss away his beer and says, "Yes." There's something about that character. He never smiles, but you can tell when he's happy and when hurt's coming.
Mm-hmm. Which is usually at the same time.
Yeah. And the thing I especially loved during that scene was that while the other Guardians, Groot, Drax, and Raccoon, were just beaten up on these poor Spartaks who recognized them, Star-Lord is still trying to hit on the woman he'd been working on the entire time. He just didn't think it was any big deal. And she finally walks... I love the fact that she walks away and just, she doesn't want any more to do with this. And all he says is, "I thought we had something."
That little pitiful look on his face.
I know, while the Raccoon is jump kicking somebody in the face and Drax is throwing someone else across the room.
I think if they could pull this off of the movie, it would be a hit.
Well, everyone keeps saying that the movie apparently is a lot of fun and it is like a bunch of villains who are trying to make their lives a little better. That sounds a lot like what they've written into the comics so far.
Sounds like Firefly, too, to be honest.
Yeah.
They have interesting takes on just about everything. And then Gamora was attacked by a bounty hunter. The Guardians were getting away, and they just came across her and saved her. And I love the fact that the Raccoon and Gamora are having a conversation. Who is this Gaboon bounty hunter? For you. Yes. How much are you going for?
I don't believe I've ever said those words.
I know. Thank you, Rocket. I don't believe you've ever said those words. And I still can't believe when they're walking
Mount Gamora. That was also rather amusing.
Yes.
I could have warned you. Then why didn't you?
I just like the final scene where they're walking away. Groot's carrying Gamora. "I am Groot." "Really? The one with the flippers? I didn't think she was that hot." "I am Groot." "You have some weird taste, my friend." Hey, where's Stark? Is there anything left of him after he climbed Mount Gamora? Stop. She could take a little ribbon.
Yeah, but can you take the reprisal? Oh, good point.
I know, yeah, I was more worried about what she'll do to you. Point taken. This seems like a bunch of bar buddies who just happen to know how to fight hanging out, basically.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's a very different feel when you consider what the X-Men and the Avengers are. Very regimented, militaristic type books, very bright characters. Most of these characters are kind of dulled down, very quiet, and they are more or less the ones who will start the punching instead of waiting for somebody to attack them.
Oh, yes.
And then there was the fifth issue, which I knew probably turned a lot of people out because it's the first appearance of Angela in the Marvel Universe. That had to...
Yep.
If you weren't following multiple series like I was, I can imagine how that would be extremely confusing. Yeah. Where'd the redhead show up and why is she so goddamn angry?
My favorite part about that issue was Rocket Raccoon dumbfounding Tony Stark.
Oh, I know.
Rocky Raccoon what?
Rocket was dumping on Tony Stark because, he's watching Gamora walk up down the hallway and Raccoon is still working on the armor, just says, "I could have warned you about hooking up with Gamora." "Yeah, why didn't you?" "Why did you? She's the queen of father issues." Well, that's usually a good thing.
That usually works out for me.
Yeah, that's usually a good thing for me.
I just loved it laying there after the whole deed is done, and she's like, "I'm gonna go back to the club." "Yeah, okay." It's just like, ow.
And I just like the fact that after she comes back to ask him a couple questions, Stark smiles and waves. She makes this weird sneering before she walks away, and all Raccoon says, "Could have warned you." Definitely didn't work out well. I know a lot of people who hadn't read the previous series probably saw him run across Mantis and wonder why this was a big deal. Well, as I said, in the previous version, she was a Guardian. She was kind of his operational manager. She stayed behind the station while he ran missions. So she's very familiar with him. She's a self-claimed celestial Madonna. She has premonitions and high-level telepathy. In addition to being a damn near world-class martial artist, she was affiliated with the Avengers for a little while. So when she looked into his head, obviously she saw both what was before and what's going to come. And I'm sure after the discussions we've had, there was no question about why Star-Lord was hugging a teenage Jean Grey in that one.
I don't understand, but...
the all-new X-Men are going to cross over with the Guardians of the Galaxy because several people learned that Jean Grey is back on the planet and they want to hold her at trial for what happened with the Dark Phoenix eating several planets.
Yeah, I was trying to subvertly describe that bit to Steve before you read it, and I had to just go 2x4 with it.
Well, half the Guardians encounter Angela, who's just kind of on her way to Earth for no reason. They can't quantify her, and Gamora, before really deciding what anyone should do, she jumped out of the ship in a spacesuit and a laser sword and decided to tackle her to the moon.
Okay.
I think she lost
basically
that fight.
to intercept her from hitting Earth.
Yeah. Oh, that is kind of a statement when Gamora is frequently referred in the Marvel Universe as the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. This person comes out of nowhere and beats the shit out of her.
Yeah, she's probably not expecting to lose that fight.
No, one single woman with a sword, I doubt she was looking at that as anything she could possibly lose. But for those that are unfamiliar, Angela is a creation originally from Image Comics, who after a rights dispute, one of the co-owners of her was able to walk away with the rights to present her in other comics. And he sold the rights to Marvel. She is an angel from the Spawn series.
Yep.
She's
the angel from the Spawn series.
Well, there's been several of them, but she was the initial one.
Yep.
She's a devil hunter, and those ribbons that are around her neck are sentient and prehensile. She can,
oh, fun.
Yeah, she can use them to wrap things up while she cuts the limbs off them. So, it seems like they're trying to write her in as a different type of alien in this series. Anybody else catch that? Oh, well,
yeah, I got that.
Extra dimensional, as far as I...
Yeah.
Yeah,
it doesn't look like she's going to be an angel, but it looks like she's going to be kind of similar to... I guess you could say... Well, I was going to say a space version of Xena, a warrior princess of an extra-dimensional race.
That could make sense.
So I guess you could say someone with a strength level somewhere around the Hulk with the looks of Jean Grey and the attitude of Gamora. So, dangerous?
Well, with the whole... I was just kind of thinking of the fracturing of reality things to Wolverine, it kind of makes sense they could actually get away with this.
Yeah. I mean, it was a perfect place to put her in, considering the story they'd written. I'm sure it was one of those cases where they were halfway through with Age of Ultron, and then, I can't remember which person came forward, but said, I have the rights to this character, and they just said, really? Okay, we'll have to write a couple things around, but I think we can do this. Hang on. So, I mean, this is similar to when the Superman rights were in flux for a while. I'm sure Marvel, as soon as they learned they could have a character of this renown among independent comics in their lineup, they salivated.
Mm.
And, frankly, there's not many characters from the original Image, including Wildstorm, that would fit well into the Marvel Universe. Angela's one of the few that could. When you consider the cosmic-level threats they've been writing into their series lately, Angela could fit right in. So could Spawn, frankly. Do you imagine Spawn hanging around Hell's Kitchen?
Ghost Rider?
Oh, God. The conversations. Spawn versus Punisher. That'd be a long gun battle. But the whole thing kind of ended perfectly, considering where we wanted to read into, because it ended where the Guardians were getting involved in Infinity, and Star-Lord was encountering Thanos, asking why so many races had an interest in Earth lately. The people that kept breaking time, space, and reality.
Defeating celestial and galactical threats.
Yeah,
consistently.
I still say they could have ended all this simply. Just hand Wolverine directly to Thanos. Just give him over. But, I've been reading the comics for a while because I was interested in the last series. This current one, I don't like as much as the previous series. If you guys have a chance to look it up, I would really recommend that you pick up the first few issues where Star-Lord was leading characters like I think the third Captain Marvel, Phyla-Vell, Moondragon, Drax, Raccoon, and Gamora were still there. He had a very close friendship with Nova. I think it's really worth reading. Mm-hmm. Some of the interactions with him and the telepathic dog running a space station were wonderful.
Well, having no prior reference to this other than what I've seen from media and you, Jeremy, I've actually enjoyed this quite a bit. Yeah, well, the thing is, the other series had a few more things going for it because it was entirely spacefaring. They had Adam Warlock on the team. They dealt with a lot of cosmic-level threats, and their base of operations was a scary place called Nowhere, which was a celestial head that was spinning around some kind of vortex or black hole. Huh. It's a scary concept in itself. And I remember at one point the head started talking, which freaked out everybody on the station.
Oh, that.
But like I said, I'm enjoying it. I didn't enjoy it as much. I mean, what do you guys think?
I was a little disjointed, on Earth and not. And...
Yeah, I can understand that. This is one of those series that'd be very rough for new readers.
I thought that Raccoon and Groot were the strongest characters, in my opinion.
Well, do you think that...
Other than established Iron Man.
Did what you read overcome your sense of discomfort?
In parts.
Okay. Does this make you any more interested in the film that's coming out next year?
Yes.
That's probably a positive.
Yeah, it definitely provides a lot more context for...
I realize it's probably going to be green screen and special effects, but I am looking forward to Zoe Saldana's version of Gamora.
Especially because, didn't she...
She was Uhura in the latest Star Trek films.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of amusing because in that film she played the roommate to the Green Alien. Now she's going to be the Green
I hadn't thought about it in that context, but that's absolutely true.
You know what I thought when I saw that scene? I was like, wait, when did Orions become accepted to Starfleet?
Well, alternate universe, I have no idea what happened. Maybe somebody stopped in a whorehouse and just said, we could use a couple of these. But, what'd you think, Steve?
I enjoyed it. It's probably not one that I would pick up and read on my own, but I did enjoy what I read. I'll probably end up catching up to what they have out, but I don't know if I'll continue reading after that. I
probably will because it's going to cross over with all new X-Men. I got to see how this intersects, and that's true. That starts in a few months. So in comic book terms, it's relatively close. V, is this the type of thing that if you're trying to get someone into comics, would you hand this to them, or would you recommend something else?
Something else. It seems like it's too built on previous things.
Okay, Jesse, you're the moderate comic reader. Would you do the same, or?
I would read it in a heartbeat. I don't care that I'm kind of lost. I actually kind of didn't think about that. As I was enjoying the dynamics between all the characters, and I just love the dialogue. Yeah, but I mean, I'm a heavy comics reader, so picking up Guardians was easy for me. The question is, though, because I'm trying to decide if this is the type of thing where someone asked me, could you refer a comic? I don't know if this is the one I would hand to them. I think they would need some prior knowledge first and foremost. Some prior knowledge, even a little bit. Because they've never heard of Guardian of the Galaxy, it may not pick up so well. Yeah. You can totally respect that. I mean, I would recommend the Dan Abnett one before I would recommend this. Not because I hate it, but simply because I think that was a stronger version, and that's where a lot of what you're reading is spinning out of. There's a lot of references to the previous series. All the way back from some of the characters' familiarity down to a lot of the cast used, and a lot of the story fallout that they're dealing with does seem to spin out of there, especially since that version of Star-Lord was the one who went into the Cancerverse with Nova, and that was referenced in issue 1. And I got a couple seconds here. I will link you guys this right now over Skype. This is if you take a look at the picture, this is the Dan Abnett versions of Guardians of the Galaxy. Some people refer to it as the DNA version, because it was Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, D and A. Oh, this is the one they showed in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yes. This was the previous version of Guardians, had most of the same characters, including Groot. You can see that Gamora has a very different appearance, probably because they're focusing on making their comics as similar to movies so that there's not as much of a loss as to what you're looking at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they've changed the look a bit, but you can see it's largely the same people. Just a couple differences. And both Adam Warlock and Phyla-Vell died by the time this latest book came around, so you can see why they're not there.
Right.
But at the same time, if you want a foothold as to where this came from, the first few issues of this series, it's a pretty good place to start.
Alright.
I don't imagine we'll get V to do that because she's not extreme into Marvel. Steve may do it if he's bored and doesn't have enough manga. Jesse seems the most Jesse seems the most likely to look it up on his own for the sake of.
Yeah.
So you can take that or leave it. Yeah, me, I would refer this to long-term comic fans, but short-term ones, no, I couldn't do that to somebody.
Unless they're like a big Iron Man fan.
That could be, except Iron Man is actually out of this series as of issue 7.
Fair enough, but at least the first few issues.
Well, his stint was short, but you could argue that they did better because the same time he left was during Infinity and he wanted to stay on Earth for a while. At the same time he left, Angela showed up again. She's become a Guardian. So, the first few times I read this, she and Gamora have this kind of grudging respect for each other. I'm kind of looking forward to ultimate level chick fights. There's something about that that just brings a big smile to my face, similar to Tentacle Grape, but the other thing...
And every other.
Well, the other thing is they're adding a lot more to this, which kind of makes me wonder where Marvel's headed with their movies, and you'll have to follow me on this. But also coming soon to the Guardians lineup, in addition to Angela, is Venom, which is arguably maybe getting one of those spin-offs we discussed for Spider-Man movies, and Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers is going to be a Guardian.
Nice.
So that makes me wonder, since the Guardians movie is coming soon, and if Captain Marvel's joined the comics, does that mean Marvel may work on hurrying up a Captain Marvel film?
Maybe.
It's a contemplation. It's a logic leap, I admit, because we've had no word anyway. But it still makes me wonder why exactly they've asked Katie Sackhoff to leave her time available in early 2014. Mm-hmm. Ooh, could she be in an after credits scene? Captain Marvel's a cosmic hero.
Yeah, they use Captain Marvel as a lead into the other extraterrestrial races out there.
Yeah.
So we can lead into probably the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if she's going to be like Thanos. Will Captain Marvel show up at the end and then we'll be screaming, "Where's she in the movies?" You know what I mean? And her filming that in early 2014, they could technically have the scene done just before the movie's supposed to be released.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of questions. If they cast Katie Sackhoff for the Captain Marvel thing, I would be thrilled. That would be just perfect. But I think that's about enough. Anything else, you guys?
No.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining us for this post-break extra-size Rolling 20s episode. I think it's the longest one we've ever done by a country mile. Next week is going to be a shorter show because not only will we not have 2 weeks of news to go through, but we have to talk to Chris Hare, the War Cabinet. The project lead of City of Titans is coming back, and he's excited. Woo-hoo! And we get to ask him technical questions. I'm already writing down a bunch of them because I got a bunch of questions based on City Heroes and based on some of the stuff he told us last time.
Yeah.
Is he going to sing them up at a song?
Only if V does it with him. That would be worth the price of admission.
Phenomenal.
You know what we could do? We could have Chris Hare pretend to be Rocket Raccoon. We'll have V pretend to be Gamora. We should come up with a duet for him to sing.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
That would be awesome. Oh, I gotta look up songs. This would be awesome.
Let's end the show now before you have more ideas.
Oh, I have...
No. Let's
At least I didn't ask you guys to be Ray J and Kim Kardashian in a video. No, I think that'd be fun because V has singing chops. We've heard it before. Mm-hmm. She can belt out a tune, and if Chris is going to sing silly stuff, let's find a quick duet. They can just pretend to be characters, and we can put that up. That'll be fun.
Oh my God!
Oh, this will be cool. I'll have to send him an email. All right. So next week we're back on City of Titans. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. I invite you guys to roll with us again next week. I am Jeremy.
Steve?
Jesse?
And V.
Thank you very much.
Now it's about time we got back to comics.
So what do you guys think? I'm a little country, I'm a little bit rock and roll, or ebony and ivory?
Oh, God.
I think
Get your hands off my fur.
I'm a Marvel, I'm a DC. we won't sing, we'll just do the I'm a Marvel, I'm a DC thing.
That would involve me writing a script, man.
I'm not familiar with this.
Should we show her?
Yes.
God, that means I gotta open a browser.